Okay, it's sending. It's uploading. It has a good connection. It says excellent connection. And it says live. Why isn't it fucking working? Oh, now it's working. Fucking sick. By the way, I changed nothing, by the way. Literally nothing changed. It just is working now. All right, so we'll probably get into a lot today. We got a lot to talk about with Dratnos. Some boss changes went in. We might watch some guilds progression. I might trick all of you into doing a heroic raid with my monk and giving me every piece of gear. That voice sounds rough. Guys, I was losing my voice last week, but I couldn't just stop talking. But unfortunately, when you're starting to lose your voice and you power through it, you end up losing it for a very long time after that. That's all it is, so... Oh, also, I think I'm more sick than I've ever been. And I'm really sad about that because as soon as the race ended, I just wanted to start playing hockey again. Bro. I have like... Oh, man. I don't know what I have. It's not COVID, but it's something fucking insane. Hockey sounds way too hard to do this sick. Oh, dude, if I were to go play hockey right now, I don't know if I would die, but I could die. Like like I can barely even take in a full breath right now. I actually probably could die if I were to do that. I've had a fever for like 2 to 3 days. Waking up sweaty in the middle of the night, but I'm also freezing. Been fucking going through it, man. Did you see Now's tweet about disbanding the MDI and TGP team? No, I haven't seen any of that. I'm just been doing my own thing. I usually mute all of Echo on Twitter before races, and then I often forget to take them off, so I just never see any of their tweets ever. Did you think that method would be that close to second place? Nah. It's a surprising raid for sure. If you were to say before the raid that method would get third but only by 2 hours, or you would say that either Echo or Liquid, whoever gets second, you'll be closer to method than you were the other guild, I think people would have told you were crazy, and that actually happened. It's actually insane. I think method could have won if half their team didn't have COVID. All right, well, let's hold on a second. I think they were quite a bit away from that, but yeah. Yeah, but the we've had that as well in previous races, and that definitely sucks. Like, are you going to perform worse if your team is sick? Absolutely. I actually think Amirdersil is the most sick we've ever been, but there's been other raids where we've had like Ben, Bubba, and like 2 of other players got COVID one time. How much is sickness and how much is the after party in the voice? It's just the sickness. I didn't do much at the after party. Is there a potty seat? Yeah, I think we're recording a episode and a bonus episode tonight. And we were going to do it yesterday, but I told them, I'm like, guys, I can't. Like, I just can't. I just, I'll be there, but I don't know. It's probably going to be bad. Your new camera angle is upsetting. Yeah, I did set up a slightly new angle while we're here. We'll see what you guys like. Here, I'll go live. Fuck it. I don't even know if my... Is everything good? I think, why does it look so weird? Go full screen? It's just that I just have like the whole room in frame so you can see all the dogs, bro. My head is like in between the couches. And then we got 2 dogs over here. We got a little reptar over here. It works out. You know? I gotta like work on how close it is, I think, but yeah. Little Reptar check. Oh yeah, you guys haven't said hi to Reptar in a while. Come here, Reptar. Hi, buddy. Come here. Come say hello, people. Oh, he's a Reptar. Come here. Oh, come here. Oh yeah, he's so big. Look at him. Oh, he's a Reptar. Hi, Rep. Hi, Reptar. Say hi to all the people, Reptar. Rah! Look at him. He's yelling. Are you so fierce? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. He's such a good boy. Oh yeah. Yeah. Sit. That's the opposite of sitting. Come here. Try sit. Sit. Shh. Sit. Go down. Oh shit, watch this. Give me paw. Oh, he gave paw. 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 Oh my god. Yeah, so Reptar is basically a good dog. What was it? It was nice hearing the dogs bark again yesterday after a damn near 2 weeks. It was too damn quiet in the neighborhood. Oh, shit. That makes me feel bad. Yeah, man, it was a good time. I had a good time. Winning is good. God, being this sick sucks. I saw you outside last night when I was getting home, by the way. I didn't want to go say hi because I'm actually like a fucking zombie right now. I feel a little better today. So I started getting sick like last Thursday, and I've been getting progressively more sick every day until today. Like yesterday was the pinnacle of feeling like absolute shit, and today I feel noticeably better than yesterday. But yeah, I felt so bad. Max, what do you think your biggest strength is versus other guilds? I don't know, like killing bosses. The vibes. Yeah, I think so. It's probably, I would guess it's probably more fun to play here than other guilds. I think we have more fun than our competition does. Like win or lose, irrelevant. Just like how fun it is to play there. I think we have a very fun environment while remaining productive. What do you think put you ahead this tier? Dude, I don't want to start every single one of these streams answering the same questions. I've already answered this shit, man. Oh shit, maybe we should do like a video at some point. I'll just like start my stream for a day. I'll answer all your questions, even though I've already done that. And then none of you will ever ask me them again. And then you'll just have the answers. Do you know that's actually why I ever made a that's why the only reason I ever made a YouTube channel. Funny enough. It ended up becoming something else, but I made a YouTube channel so people would stop asking me questions about raid leading. Like my first 10 videos were all about raid leading. And it's funny, they're like my least watched videos ever, but at least anytime anyone ever asked me again, I just pointed them somewhere. You got sick of people's questions? Look, I think I do well answering questions. I don't mind stopping and taking time out of my day to teach people the nuances of this stuff. But bro, when it's the same question every day for months, it makes you want to blow your head off. Like, it's crazy. It's so repetitive. My only question is why so many dev evokers with no Aug. I answered that too. I answered that at the end of the race with Team Liquid. I answered it on my stream the other day. Here, Team Liquid. Here.
Dungeon Dojo, as well as the
Where is this shit? Wow, Team Liquid was making featured clips. What a useless feature.
That guy plays in the AWC.
True. Critical mistake, like spatial paradox.
I'm good.
Push, but every single
Enough to get this boss down right here, right now.
How,
Dojo,
why,
as well as the Santa Monica.
why does Team Liquid have 10 broadcasts that are like a minute long that haven't been removed?
What's them do these days?
Just in case, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we've nearly done that now.
And then when it gets really, really hard, we have one tank thing absolutely sucked.
Commodities.
Damn,
Okay, so this is after we won.
Good, yeah, there we go.
Here we
Let me
go.
find it.
Yeah, with Farak, we... Yeah,
How pivotal
Like,
it felt, or do you
impactful
think if
and-
it mattered?
yeah, do you
The boss, yeah. Maybe it does pretty good for him because instead, as soon as possible.
just be like, all right, now...
Just tuning curve wasn't the right.
I mean, we weren't hard, but no, high levels from we
Things that you've changed on kind of a broader lessons you can see.
secret.
Has there been anything within the guild, like
Was it after this?
But if you were to ask any of my raiders this on an NBA,
and
Keywords affects that a good bit. I think I'm good.
start spamming any questions?
Oh, no. It was definitely later, earlier.
Wasn't the rate.
I'm pretty sure we could.
I think Sang talks about it on the bench too. I can't believe he went on that fucking podcast.
Like maybe or
Flowed you. It's
Actually mirrored.
world first signatures.
Oh,
rare
yeah.
commodities.
Cam's thinking with his head. There you go, Cam.
Oh.
Good. Dive into it, Cam.
Put it there. Re-roll it off. That's how that works.
Was it later in the interview?
Man, they could have even.
Anything could happen. Great. Ooh.
Are working?
yeah, it feels great.
Right before reset.
Much damage.
Okay, it's
yeah.
not the reset question.
Like when you lose, we like kill it. To kill it, world wanna risk.
Congratulations, awesome kill. How do you feel how the general just tuning curve was in the race?
Tuning curve, not the right
Yeah, no,
question.
it's really, we have. Yeah,
all right. Things that you've first, and are there any lessons you can see take?
Right.
No.
So
There was
been like really strong for a while. It feels the same as it's been. Yeah.
Very nice. Did THD happen to show you his gateway clip?
Yeah, it was pretty insane. That's probably one of the best.
Guys, I'm a man of the people. Chat, start spamming any questions.
the reclear at all for you guys?
And I'm happy with that, and it's just to set their intention. So
mostly absent from the raid. All right, I got a
Here we
bunch
go.
of different great questions from chat. A lot of people want to ask about dev versus Aug or general comp stuff, anything like that. But this tier, of course, we did see the Aug Evokers mostly absent from the raid, especially from you guys. You guys were kind of on the dev train first, and a lot of other guilds swapped into that after seeing it work for you guys. What was the thought process behind that?
Okay, so Aug excels in a few scenarios. So ideally when the extremes between classes are the biggest. So let's think of a fight like Brood Twister. You can give it to like a Frosty K when they have breath up. That is, there's like one class in the game that can do that right there. On a boss like Silken Court, where you have like 2 target classes in a double damage amp, like you can't, there's not classes that can
Is it
just
weird
do
watching
that,
yourself
you know?
do an
Like,
interview?
You have to,
No, someone asked a question and my voice sucks, so I don't want to answer them. So I'm showing them me answering that question without having to use my voice.
that there's a scenario where amping is so powerful because when you're an Aug Evoker and you can technically buff the best class at like any point in the fight, not just the best class overall, but the best class exactly here and here and here, it gets a lot of value. But on pure single target, it's fine and it's really good if you can do that. The problem is it's really hard. Like playing Aug Evoker at the world first level is probably the hardest class in the raid. I think it's like easily the hardest class in the raid. So, and it has a ton of range problems, especially on these fights. Think about Silken Court. Think about Ky'veza in the intermission. Think about Ansurek. Like, oh, are you gonna put 2 Aug Evokers on one platform? And then like, do you have them swap? And I mean, it would be a big problem, right? So I think there's 2 main things. Number 1, dev is crazy good. We would not be playing dev over Aug if dev wasn't extremely good. Number 2, dev is extremely easy and Aug is extremely hard. So unless you feel like you're gaining a huge benefit from Aug, you can get the same or literally better from dev. I think they were like top 5 on our kill. And bombardments are super OP. A lot of people didn't realize that because you guys don't see our logs, you see details. And details just shows them lower than what they're actually doing. They've been top 5 on I think every fight. Yeah, but I mean, it's just something that Bubba found out. Bubba's really smart with that. I had him do all the Aug testing. I want nothing to do with that shit. And he basically found out that the class just, like, dev is really, really good. Well, we knew that.
Okay, so that's basically the answer. I kind of rambled on a little bit longer, but basically, dev is as good or better than Aug on certain fights while being significantly easier. So it sounds good. You know? You looked so young back then. That was 5 days ago. That was 5 days ago. I've fallen off so much since then. How many monsters do you think you drank over the course of the race? I drank 1 a day. I drink an energy drink every day around like 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And that's like exactly the right amount. If I drink it later than that, it'll fuck my sleep. I don't like to drink it any earlier than that, and I never drink more than 1. I feel like 150 milligrams of caffeine is like just fine if you like caffeine. I think more than that is crazy. Well, not crazy, it's fine, but like way more than that is Like, really, really bad for you. Except for that one day at 8 p.m. when you got caught in 4K. Okay, that's not exactly true. I didn't have an M that day, and I was getting a headache from caffeine withdrawal. So I went and got an M at 8 p.m., and I took like one sip. And the reason for that is it removed my headache while also not fucking my sleep because it was a small amount of caffeine. I think that was the right decision. Bro, there's nothing worse than caffeine withdrawal headaches, man. That shit will fuck you up. $400 milligrams of caffeine a day is the safe threshold. I feel like 400 milligrams of caffeine in a day is a crazy high number. Like a big number. I think that's a lot of caffeine. Common Scott W. Yeah, Scott's great. Okay, I think it's about that time. We have a lot to go over today. So we have some videos I made before this tier came out. One of them was grading all the Nerebar Palace bosses with Dratnos. And we graded these based on let's see. I think we graded them on a lot of different categories, and I will need to actually go back and find this. And then we're just going to see how much that lived up. That's number one. At the end of this, we also gave some pull count predictions for each one of these bosses. And then also, I think on a previous video, we predicted pull counts, which I'm just going to let you know right now, this did not go well. We're going to see how that turned out, chat versus me. I'll tell you, it's not looking good for me. Not quite looking good for me. Also, just never listen to me about pull counts ever again. I clearly have no fucking clue what I'm talking about. It is not good. And then what else do we have? Oh yeah, you guys tried to predict the Race to World First comp, which will be pretty fun to go into. Is your voice feeling better? Nope. I don't think you guys got it that wrong, if I remember. We made some updates to it, though. We made some updates to it. I let you guys update it right before the raid came out. And then other than that, we can just kind of talk about the raid a little bit. Your channel's popping off, Max? Yeah, dude. It is. I don't even know why. Like, this one always does well. A couple of these did really good, but Frank just, like, uploaded our world first kills. And just every single one of them got so many viewers. Like, this is crazy. Literally, Frank, and I've never done this before, Frank just posted our kill. He uploaded them within 30 minutes. Yeah, that's banger shit. That's good. Yeah, he did really good this time. Okay. Well, before Dratnos gets in here, let me actually compile all of our rankings. So that was chat's thing. Did I do the like... Did I do the... I did the rankings on Notepad, surely. Bro, I have so many notes. Oh my god. Okay, yeah, I mean, I don't have the boss rankings, so I might actually have to go grab these. Fuck. I don't want to do this. It's going to take me like 10 minutes probably. You know what? I'm not. I'm just going to... screenshot it. Okay. That's all. Sikran. Now this is efficient. Okay, Silken Court. Okay. I have like a million pictures open right now. And then Queen Ansurek, we just kind of didn't rank. Because who knows. And then, okay, so now that I have those, the question is, to give them their final rankings, what do those look like? Like, now that we're giving them the final ranking, initially it was concept, execution, replayability, slimy elitist ranking. We have civilian ranking, and then we had a final grade. I think... concept doesn't really matter because that's like... It's almost like this. It's almost like tuning. Like, how well was the boss tuned? Max, when you do civilian ranking, you should let chat decide via polls. We can't, right? Like civilian, we can't do a civilian ranking on these bosses from you guys because you guys haven't done the boss yet. So what are you ranking? You're just making it up, right? like, the only thing that you can do from people who have done the fight is try to guess how the civilian population will interact with them. From a viewer perspective, I mean, maybe you could rate it from a viewing perspective, but that wouldn't be a civilian score. We could, I mean, if that interests you guys, we could do that. We could do a watchability. Maybe Slimy Elitist could be removed, and that for like... Oh yeah, I guess here, like Race to World first, and then also just cutting edge experience. I think that works. There's a scenario where a boss is amazing for the race and everyone else hates it. Like Tindrill's an example of that. Isn't Race to World first and watchability the same one? Not really. Like, for example, watchability of Nexus Princess might be really, really high. And cutting edge, or sorry, but Nexus Princess in the race was awful. It was awful. So that's not necessarily the same at all. Oh, nice. We have 2 notes here. I can get rid of all these then. Okay, let me just make one for all the bosses. I think there's going to be one surprise on my list that you all won't expect. All right, time to call Dratnos. Oh, how should I have these playing? Should I have, like, POVs of these bosses as we're talking about them? I don't even know how I find that. Frank can do that in post. I feel like it'll make it better on stream if I have it, though. The only problem is I do not have a video of the first 4. Does Team Liquid have a kill video of the first 4? I can't believe this exists. Oh yeah, we do. Sweet. I'm gonna... I'll be right back and grab some water and then we'll be good to go. We're back. All right. Calling up Dratnos. Hello? He has joined the call, but I can't hear him. Wait, maybe something's wrong with my settings. A second. Huh. Yeah, that's weird. I saw your thing light up. I see you muting.
I think it was me.
Oh, you're good.
I think it was me.
I can hear you now. Beautiful. Okay, so we have a few things to look at today. Number one, we kind of graded these bosses. We didn't like tier list them like normal. We did like a little report card for them, and then I got a list of those, and then I also have a new report card. I think we can give them that have some different categories after we've done them. You can help me figure this out if you want, but I added like tuning, watchability, we could not do replayability because we did that before. How fun they were to watch in the race, and then I could tell you how fun they were to play in the race. And then we could both guess how cutting edge guilds will interact with these fights and what their opinion will be. I know you have seen all of them except for Silken Court and Ansurek now. Are you pretty far on Nexus Princess?
Yeah, we got it to like 27% pre-nerf.
Okay.
We wiped to a mask still being on before it went into Last Enrage, so I don't know. I think that pull probably would have killed it post-nerf. We'll see tonight.
Okay. That's cool.
The big nerf.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that nerf is insane. Okay, and then like another final grade, but just also some time to talk about the bosses and where they were, because I found that kind of interesting. Also, I think you gave like, I couldn't find it, but did I ever have you make a comp prediction?
I made a video where I talked about my guild's comp prediction, or not prediction, but like how we made our comp.
Okay.
So I think you may have watched that. It was like during Heroic Week, I think.
I don't know if I watched that, but maybe I was thinking about something else. I had my chat predict one a while ago.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, and they had a chance to update it, but I don't think I made like another video about it, but I still have the spreadsheet where they did it, so I could look at that. And then also we need to look at poll count predictions. I'm not really looking forward to that, but that's fine. Okay, starting with young Ulgrax. I think before... So our thing here was concept is C, execution what we thought was D+, with D+ replayability, and then we didn't give ranks for slimy elitists or civilian, and the final grade ended up being a C. Do you think that like pretty closely tracked with what this was?
If anything, the final grade of a C is maybe generous. Like, the boss stinks.
Yeah, it's not and it like it's just followed so many great first boss. Like making a good first boss is an art. You know, it's like there's such thin margins. It can't be boring, but it also can't really challenge you, or else it's just not what people want from a first boss.
Just let me attack the boss, man. I hate not being able to attack the boss.
Okay, well that's interesting because so many people say Shriekwing is their favorite or one of the most favorite.
Yeah, well, because that's like fun when you're not attacking the. This one is just like, and then you're standing there and it's 99% DR. Oh no.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. I don't think this is like all-time bad first boss, because there are some first bosses that it's incredible.
It's not an F.
Yeah, it's incredible they were made.
Like Hellfire Assault.
Yeah, like those kind of things. The Battle of Dazarlor one. There's some really bad ones. But I think I don't know. So tuning, the watchability and stuff like that doesn't really apply to this. But like tuning, I mean, it's tuned like a first boss.
I think it's a well-tuned first boss. Yeah, like it's puggable. It's a decent challenge if you're like week 1 gear, no splits. You know. I'd give it at least a B there.
Dude,
It's fine.
did you see Method strat on this boss?
No, what'd they do?
You didn't see their one wipe on Ulgrax?
No, what did they do?
They like, okay, I don't even know how to describe it. If someone has like a clip, that'd be great. But they basically, in the intermission, sometime during testing, just convinced themselves as the boss is like charging across the room, their whole raid just like stacked up on one of these edges as it was like some kind of safe spot or something. So they didn't have to dodge. And then it just like didn't work and the boss spawned on them and they all died.
That goes crazy.
Which is kind of an insane thing to try on a first boss, because like why? Like who even cares? It's not like you're skipping something insane. You're like making something that's extremely easy, I guess, automatic and even easier, I guess. But like, dude, they wiped, they looked so mad, and they just like ended up pulling it again after that. But okay, so there's that. Watchability doesn't really apply. Race World First and Cutting Edge are the same in this scenario. I just think final grade Ulgrax is probably like, what, a C? Something like that, maybe. Is it even a D?
I don't know. It's at best a C- for me. It's like...
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
Nasty boss. All right, I'm actually excited about this one. What did we say about Bloodbound Horror before? Let me see. We said... We said this boss was a B concept, and we thought they had A execution, so they executed on the concept really well. It had A replayability. Slimy elitists would like it, but civilians wouldn't. And I think I remember why we said that. And the final grade was an A-. I'm actually higher on this boss since we've rated this, I think. I think this is like a fucking awesome second boss.
Yeah, they tuned it down in a way that I think makes it a lot better for civilians, which, by the way, there were a lot of comments on that video that were mad at us for using the term civilian. It's right next to the term slimy elitists. So, like...
Yeah, actually, good point.
We're joking around. So, you know.
I think the word civilian has always gotten people real worked up, I think. But we're also, like, poking fun at the elitist type people at the same time. Slimy, sweaty, disgusting elitists.
We didn't even give a nasty adjective next to civilian, so, you know, really, who's got the advantage here? Anyways, I think that they tuned this in a way that it makes it pretty good for, like, everybody. It's a fair, killable boss. The mechanic is, like, pretty fun. I don't know. It's one of those bosses where I think you could do a little bit more with it, and it could be a great mid-boss as well. But I like it as a second boss. I think it's a fun
I think
second
it's
boss
like...
too.
There are bosses like that I feel that about. I don't feel that about Bloodbound Horror. I'm trying to imagine like a... Well, I mean, there is a difficulty difference, it turns out, in between a one-shot boss like Rasha'nan and then a boss that takes 120 pulls like Brood Twister. It turns out there are multiple boss difficulties that should exist in between that. But I'm trying to think of this boss being a 50 puller. That doesn't suck, and that's hard for me to do. So I think this is where it belongs. But final grade here, I'm feeling... Watchability, any boss that dies in one pull, watchability is not a relevant metric, as well as the Race World First Cutting Edge differences. I just feel like...
Yeah.
It's got to be an... I don't know. Do you think it's not an A? It's got to be an A.
No, I like A, yeah.
That's great. Yeah, I think this is a really, really good boss. Also, they've been pretty good with these bosses recently, I think. Actually, maybe not. Amir Drasil had kind of rough early stuff, didn't it? I think it did.
Amir Drasil had... Yeah, Igira was like... I guess Volkaros was like such a huge tuning miss that it was kind of disastrous that early, and this isn't that.
So why did we give Civilian a C+ ranking for Bloodbound?
Because we thought it was going to be hard. We thought this boss was going to be like, was going to farm people.
Oh yeah, and people want their 2-box.
Exactly. It would grief your 2-box, but it's definitely not that.
Okay, yeah, that's just not the case. Okay. Have you been doing that? Have you been going in for the quick 2-box in the community?
I know there's already, yeah. I think 4 is going to be pretty doable too soon.
How many people do you know did the trash farming thing?
Yeah, that's also... There's decent trash you can do if you just kill one boss as well.
Dude,
all you need.
I heard of some people doing that and waiting the 30-minute lockout, and then there were people who did the tech that you tricked us with last year.
Which it does work, by the way, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Trick?
yeah. Well, it didn't work for us, but it does work for other people, it seems. Do you think
You guys are probably
that,
just doing it wrong.
Do you think that people should be scared of doing that?
No, I don't think you're gonna get in trouble for hard resetting the raid or for bug resetting the raid because I don't know, so many people have been doing it.
Yeah, we were thinking about doing it on like the reclear, like do the reclear and then literally just like
hard reset for a
soft
couple
reset
hours.
because like we would have gotten eye levels from doing that.
Yeah.
And I think the final consensus we came down to with the current climate around like anything exploity or bug related was that like that would probably be a really bad idea. Like people would get really mad and maybe Blizzard would ban us. So, but I think if you're not like with that many eyes on you, I don't think it would ever get.
Yeah, like I think for you guys it was probably better to not do it, but I don't think any regular guild is gonna get in trouble for doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for those wondering, basically there's a way you can circumvent the 30 minutes it usually takes of nobody being in the instance to reset it. Which is you just have everybody log out, you pass lead to an alt, and then they reset instances when everybody's logged out.
Wait, this thing says Sikran world first. We didn't get world first on Sikran, did we?
Yeah, you did. You got 6 world first this tier.
No, I remember watching a guild do this before we went into the raid. Did they just not kill it?
They must have not killed it.
Oh,
it was
okay.
a tough boss.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think this boss was I think I maybe got world 3rd on this one.
Let's
Let's
go.
Hang on. Boss ranking, Sikran. Yeah, world 3rd. Wow, cool. We're 2 of the top 3 co-champions on this boss.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so Sikran. So when we ranked this last time, it was after the previous like raid testing of it, and I thought that they made the boss too hard. Basically, what it was is like if you didn't get all of the clones in the decimate lines, and you had to blow up any of them on the shattering sweep or whatever it's called, you just like turbo died. So you had to hit like every clone. And I felt like that was crazy punishing for a 3rd boss. They just ended up changing that. But they also ended up changing the space, right? Isn't it 8 yards instead of 5?
Yeah, and actually the sleeper biggest thing they changed though is they gave you an indicator circle when you're being charged, so you could see if somebody was in range to get killed by.
Yeah, that was huge. That was a really good change.
Like that honestly is like plus 10 pulls for most guilds if that didn't exist.
Yeah, and I think it's also just Blizzard should always favor visibility with stuff like that. It's just really, really smart. Well, definitely that'll be a conversation on some later bosses. Although I don't think they made any egregious mistakes visibility-wise compared to like previous raids where like, you know, it'd be like smolder on fire mechanics in a red room. You know, I'm trying to think of some like, I feel like the first couple times you did Ansurek, did anyone know when those fucking orbs were spawning at the end of P1? You know, like after the intermission? Do you know which ones I'm talking about?
Oh yeah,
it's like they're like the little orbs. It's a little shadow swirly, and then it shoots orbs from every side. Dude, none of our players could see that. For the first like 10 pulls we did that, we were just screaming for people to watch them. They were so not obvious that they were coming out. That's the only one I could think of this trade really. So we'll ignore watchability, race world first, cutting edge, tuning. I mean, this boss isn't tuned for us. But, like, on the first pull, we had a few deaths, and we, like, I'm pretty sure we could have gone for, like, minutes longer. Like, it, you know, it was, like, pretty easy. But I think that's probably the intention for us. I don't know. For guilds who went and did Bloodbound Horror the first week, was Sikran a challenge to you, and it was because of tuning? Or, it's not, like, Volcaros level tuning, right? Where, like...
No. It's not Volcaros level tuning. It is certainly, though, like... I think this is definitely something they could have made 5 item levels harder, and that would have been good for there being a difficulty curve.
Yeah. So you think the tuning was pretty low?
Yeah, like it is tuned to be harder numerically than Bloodbound Horror, but it's the difference between like a week 1 easy kill or a week 1 medium kill for like a non-split doing cutting edge guild. If you did it after your heroic clear and all that stuff.
See, this is why I'm a little interested in this. Like, we just got done with a raid where they acknowledged that Tindral was too hard for too long, but they stated that they also made the bosses leading up to Tindral too easy. And this raid, while there was probably the biggest difficulty jump ever from Rasha'nan to Brood Twister, it does still kind of feel like that, doesn't it? It's just like there's bosses that are just completely reasonable, and then it just goes to unreasonable immediately.
Yeah.
There's no jump at all. And I don't know if that should start at Sikran, but it does make you think.
I think it should. I think that you could ramp Sikran to be, a couple hours of prog, and Rasha'nan to be a couple hours of prog, and that like scales things nicely so that you have some guilds do that really quick. Like you guys probably still one-shot it, and then other guilds are doing that in the first and second week instead of bashing their heads against Brood Twister that they can't kill.
Yeah. Okay, so probably again just give it like a final grade. I think Sikran ended up being,
I think, pretty good.
I mean, it's like, look at us. This is the first kill of it, right? Like we've used all the space in the room, and now we just have the middle to play with. This looks like an ideal, ideal.
Yeah.
Also, we have more. What do you think? Like, what do you think? B or an A?
Yeah, B something. I don't think it's an A, but I think pretty good.
Okay. All right. On to Rasha'nan.
This is so weird because it basically got the like Tindral mythic change where it's just like, okay, my abilities are pretty much the same, except I cast 50% faster than, lower difficulties, right? Like it just spams mechanics at you. The web mechanic is kind of weird. I feel like I have never interacted with anybody who understood it after reading the dungeon journal.
Yeah, it was so everyone can see that here. So in the dungeon journal, it almost makes it sound like when you snap these webs, there will be a line linking these 4 webs on the ground, and that area will blow up at the end of its duration. But it turns into a clothesline. So basically, at the end of the duration, all of the people are webbed together, as you can see here. And then at the end of that duration, if you're inside of a circle with these 4 people, you die. But they can just like stack up, and it's impossible for that to happen. So like, yeah, really, really hard to understand from the journal. Although I'm like kind of okay with that. This is a really stupid way to look at it, but like if the journal was just aggressively wrong, I would like that because I would prefer there not to be one. You know what I mean? Like where you just have to figure everything out. That's like not having it just be wrong but still exist is not the best way for that to happen, but like I do enjoy that. Dude, I think I was the most wrong about any boss in this raid than I was about Rasha'nan. Like, I'm actually pretty sure, and this was kind of fucked up that I said this, but like before the raid, I said like it's as if AI generated this boss, which that's definitely I went too far with that. But before the mythic version of this boss, it just seemed like it was so basic. Like on PTR, it jumped to like 2 locations, and it like didn't do anything, and it just repeated the same mechanics, and it just seemed. It was so strange. It's like the thing didn't do any damage when you stood in it. But I think they actually ended up creating one of the most unique bosses in WoW's history. They just created a boss that was actually just trying to run away from you, and it was genuinely hard to get there. Like, you have to actually plan to make it as far as this boss will go. It's not trying to kill you with any other mechanics, but like it jumps away way more than you would have ever thought. Also, the DPS check in week 1 was not super easy. We ended up one-shotting this. I actually don't know how we one-shot this boss. Like, we just completely YOLO'd this boss, and it ended up working out. This soak that you're looking at right here, like, people are like, oh, that soak doesn't do enough damage. It's not supposed to really do damage. It's like a binary pass-fail mechanic. Like if you don't have 17 or something of your players in here, like, everyone dies or something like that. Maybe it's less than that. So I think the person took a pretty rough concept. Like before we gave them this ranking, right? We gave them like concept is a D, execution was a C. Like, hey, we made a dungeon boss and it dies at 60%. Make the other 60% a raid boss. And here's like generally some of the dungeon mechanics it does. That's a hard job. And I think they did even better than like of a C on execution on it. And I feel like it actually ends up being one of the most unique boss killing experiences that you've done. Like you probably haven't killed a boss like Rasha'nan.
Yeah, I do think that it has committed. It's the tuning on it is weird because it is definitely a step up, but it still is part of the problem is that it is so easily killable before you get to the next bosses. Like the difficulty is basically just chase the boss, and then like because the DPS check is so light, you can just 5 heal it and handle the healing pretty easily that way. And then you just get through a couple of overlaps, and you know you have a gateway or some movement abilities for the chasing the boss bit.
Yeah.
And then it dies in 5 or 10 pulls for pretty much everybody.
Is that what the pull count is on this boss usually?
Let me check a little prog stats. Hang on. See if they've got updates for this tier. Okay, 8 to 18 is what prog stats says, so a little bit over.
Okay.
They're by far the biggest spike is at like 8 pulls though. That's the most common kill count.
Okay, so this will be the last one where we just do a tuning and then a final grade. So, I mean, I gave my thoughts on this. What are your thoughts on? Well, actually, let's just do tuning first, I guess. I feel like this is an adequately tuned 4th boss. 8 to 18 pulls.
Yeah, I guess the
right.
problem was just in context of then going into the Brood Twister, but maybe now post nerf on Brood Twister.
Yeah,
we're now okay there.
Does Rasha'nan being a 40 pull boss make Brood Twister any better?
Yeah, because you don't reach it, like you reach it later. Although there obviously still has problems, it doesn't make it okay. It makes it better.
Okay, that's fine. What do you think Rasha'nan ended up being as a boss?
I don't know, like a B minus, maybe C plus.
I would put B minus, and I think I initially gave this a D. I just have a higher opinion of Rasha'nan than I did before. I think we gave it a C plus before, so it went up to a B minus. W.
All right, W.
All right, on to Brood Twister. The old.
All right.
Now we're getting into the bosses here. The actual bosses. Let me find, and we'll actually use all of our categories now. Yeah, this was an interesting experience because like when we did some initial like numbers. We went dark after we killed Rasha'nan because we were not intending on killing any more than 4 bosses before finishing up our gearing. So we went dark, did 1 pull on Brood Twister and did 1 pull on Nexus Princess just to get information on how much HP ads have and the HP of the bosses and just like some other general numbers, make sure our shit works, stuff like that, while we went and did the rest of our gearing. And we were under the impression that Nexus Princess was significantly harder than Ovi'nax, which ended up being true. But we were surprised once we saw how hard Ovi'nax were. We were like, holy shit, like this raid's gonna be crazy. Like this is such an insanely hard boss. And I have many thoughts here. I want to hear some of yours.
Yeah, I mean, so obviously for Racer World First, this was like, we all were like, okay, wait, shouldn't they just be going to Ky'veza first? Surely that's easier than this, right? Like, which is just one of those things that you think of after you're 100 pulls into a 5th boss, but no, it turns out this was just harder than, or easier still than Ky'veza somehow. The thing I don't like about this boss is the composition restrictions it placed, and to some extent still does. In particular, how good Blood Death Knight is, or the incentive to 3 tank. Either of which I think is not great. And I wish the nerfs had been aimed more at that, rather than, like, one of the things they nerfed about this boss was, I think, one of the good places for difficulty to come on an encounter like this, which is you only have 6 seconds to break the eggs. I feel like that's, like, an appropriate mythic difficulty.
I don't.
Whereas, like, having to have exactly those specs is not appropriate to be difficult.
Okay. I mean, I think 8 explosive dosages needing to be separated onto 4 markers in 6 seconds is insanely fucking hard. Like, I think that is almost exclusively why this boss was as many pulls as it was. Like, that wiped us for most of progression. Like, people missing eggs. Like, that's so hard. I think that... Okay, so you could talk about a no weak aura solution. So if you guys remember from before the patch, this was a private aura, and then people complained about it, and they removed it. Also, quick shout out, I don't think there was any weird private aura shit in this raid, just in general, right? I don't.
Yeah, in fact, this raid had, I think, actively good use of private auras, right? Like, Sikran charge, Nexus Princess Ky'veza.
Yeah.
Both
No,
of those were good.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But you're saying, okay, so comp restrictions here is definitely real. When you look at single target in this game, it's generally pretty well tuned. There's always outliers on both sides, but like, you can expect every class in the game to do pretty good single target. But when you start talking about AoE or burst cleave, that's where like this game has never really been balanced, especially when things spawn at certain times. And this boss was just like certain classes just absolutely destroyed other classes, and I don't I think that is probably also like this is the most grip reliant boss. Like you end up running double blood DK. You can run double blood DK or one Vengeance Demon Hunter. One Vengeance Demon Hunter can do every grip on this fight. So that is a little restrictive. Okay, I kind of see what you're saying. I was just surprised to hear you say that you thought 6-second explosive dosage was okay. I thought that was like by far.
I mean, it's really hard, but I felt like that was the part of difficulty on this fight that felt like, okay, this is a fun mythic challenge to solve, right? Versus like, okay, I hope I have gear to blood decay, which, you know, not a lot of guilds were smart enough to be doing that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I guess I didn't think about that. Like you're just a guild that doesn't have a blood decay option. You're like, okay, what do we do here? I can see that. Because not only does it like make it easier to control them, but it's also a significant damage increase. Grip is a massive damage increase. Okay. I was gonna ask something about what about the visibility? Like,
yeah, okay, invisible swirlies were very obnoxious, or like things being hidden under the boss's butt. Also, like arachnophobia mode, randomly making it so you could actually see swirlies under the spiders, and otherwise you couldn't. Those were all,
correct.
I think, pretty good gripes about this fight.
That made me so mad. We had one of our melee. We told everyone to go arachnophobia mode like 20 pulls before we killed it. And then all the melee, after they were told to do that, were like, oh my god, the like giant spiders are actually like the smallest model of crab. Like, this is amazing. And one of our melee like died to a swirly like 5 pulls before the kill, and I was like just rewatching his POV, and it was just covered by 3 massive spiders, and I'm like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? Like we just told you to do like, and he's like, I don't know, man, I just don't like arachnophobia mode. Like, I like seeing the spiders. I'm just like, man, that's crazy.
That is crazy.
Like right here at the end of the boss kill, I'm not streaming this to you, fuck. But like,
I'm watching a stream. You're good.
But I told Scott to move the boss's tail. Because, like, we were trying to see at the end of this fight, like, where we could actually, like, do the end of it. And you can't, like, when the boss is aimed directly with his back to the thing, it covers the whole fucking playable space. Like, none of the melee, look, all those melee names are just invisible. You can't see them or anything that's under them. So you'd have to, I go, Scott, make sure you turn the boss around. So then he just flips it so, like, we can actually see our characters. But there used to be an item in the game that made bosses like sparkly and kind of transparent. Do you remember what that item was called?
Yeah, it was like a Dranic enchanting dust or something.
Yeah, and they removed that from the game. And doing this boss was definitely I struggle to see why they removed that, or they don't have some other solution where bosses can't be seen through. I mean, they even added extra settings in this expansion to like see yourself through obstacles and stuff. So it's not like they're opposed to breaking your immersion a little bit for visibility. Like, that's part of the game, right? Like, I think they definitely should look at that. That was one big problem. Did you what kind of problems did you guys have when progressing this? Like, what was something that was like you guys really struggled with?
There was that fucking worm we hate, which is, there's one worm that we hate that casts on us all the time.
Wait, there's just a specific worm that never got kicked? Worm.
Yeah, that we hate.
Okay, you hate it. Oh yeah, so I also think that, and this is a great example of why there's going to be multiple grading things for this, but I think this is a boss that we had more fun with than anyone else.
Yeah.
Because we changed what side we started on 3 times. We've started in every platform on purpose at some point. Purely just to like see if it was better. Like we were convinced Worm was going to be the best place to start, because if you look at the health of all the mobs, like it technically should be the highest damage to deal with the worms being empowered the whole fight. But it turns out worms are insanely fucking annoying, and they're by far the worst one, right? And the casts are really annoying. We started in Spider. Hey, if you're going to 3-tank, the whole purpose of 3-tanking is, hey, if we bring 3 tanks and never have to actually swap to the spiders or AoE them, then that maybe gains us more single target than if we were to play 2 tanks and actually have to AoE. That's the entire idea behind 3-tanking. But then that ended up just not even being the case, right? Like, now you start in the Gahuni side. Well, if you can kill empowered Gahunis, why wouldn't you want all of them to be empowered, right? So like that problem-solving process and the eggs we use, I don't know if people still use our eggs or if they use different ones. I could absolutely...
I think post-nerf you maybe don't have to, but like maybe now you try and just kill the boss before the 3rd area, something like that.
Yeah,
I'm during the Black Blood cast, but we used your guys.
Yeah, so I just think coming up with that was it's just one of those boss. It's like Lihavum, same exact thing. Like people killed Lihavum, it was just a boss. People killed Brood Twister, it was just a boss. But like the initial progression when you decided which one of all those things were better and trying different ones, it will always just add huge value, I think, to the fight for you. And Brood Twister, I think I would agree with that. That being said, this boss was way too fucking hard. Like, and I don't think it was intentional. I think I've heard that a few times. Like, Blizzard just needs to stop making this raid for the world first, stuff like that. So they make Silken Court and Ansurek for the race because no one else is going to be there that week. Brood Twister and Ky'veza were 100% a fucking accident. Like, I even spoke to, like, I basically heard that, like, it was not, that Ky'veza was not what it was supposed to be. Like they did not tune that for the race and they were happy with it. They were like, oh man, we messed up, right? Similar to the beginning of Dragonflight, where like there was all the class and spec trees and like clearly Razageth tuning was all over the place. Somehow Ansurek was like perfectly tuned, but like Brood Twister and this boss were nowhere close to that. That being said, they got massively nerfed. I'm not sure how long it will take to kill them now, but I think it's probably pretty fast, right?
I think so, yeah. I think this is probably a... I mean, it's really hard to say, but I feel like it's now down to like a 40 pull boss or something.
But that's good. That's fair.
Yeah, which is appropriate for this spot in the raid.
Yeah. Completely agree.
Yeah.
Okay, so
you want a fun story from casting this boss?
Yeah.
So you guys were getting to this boss or whatever, and we were talking about all the mechanics, and then I went on like you were on a break or something. And I was kind of explaining like, okay, here's how all them different ones get empowered, and here's why I think they will start at parasites and then go spiders and then go worms. Like worms are really annoying. They don't move. You can't get them under the boss to cleave them down. It's really obnoxious. Parasites add the most health and stuff, but you can just cleave them down and you play a bunch of AoE classes. It'll be really fun. And the other casters were like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And then you guys started out in the other zone, and I looked really stupid. And then eventually you were right. Ended up coming around to my strat, yeah, which eventually it was good. But at the start, it was unfortunate that your first 2 tries were the other slots.
Well, at some points in progression, we thought that another place was going to be good to start in, but we wanted to start in those zones to see if what our comp was trying to do was even possible for those zones to begin with. So like, for example, if our tanks can't do empowered spiders, starting there second and us spending time learning the first place with them there is a waste of time. So that's part of that. But yeah, you were right. Dratnos. And wait, did all the casters, were they like
there was some fun being made
of
me when you guys started going to the other areas, yeah. But it all worked out in the end.
Did you let them know?
Although my logic was slightly different, because the reason you guys didn't want to do worms is because you had to hard swap to them, whereas mine is just like it's going to be inefficient because they don't move.
How
which is,
many?
like, a little bit less of it.
How many of the last 4 bosses that we killed did you cast?
I think I was on for 3.
Which one did you miss?
I definitely got Ky'veza and Ansurek. I don't remember which the other 2.
Silken Court was really late at night.
I think I was on for that, yeah, because I was usually on late at night.
Oh, so you missed this one then, probably.
Yeah, I think I missed the Ovi'nax kill.
Okay.
Which, speaking of which, that is a mark against this boss, is the way that it enrages is like, it feels super weird. You're just kind of in this shrinking space, which is kind of epic, but then you can just walk in the garbage, and the garbage is not very hurty.
Yeah, exactly.
That's weird.
Exactly. What a good point. Like right here, you can walk out and you should get shit on, and then you should walk back in, and then stop getting shit on, and then you walk back out, and then the space is gone. And when the space is gone, you should almost immediately die. Right? I think it was weird that you could have lived for a significantly long amount of time in the shit, I think. Okay.
Okay.
We have
Grading time.
Oh, grading time. Yeah. So tuning, boy, it just got its tuning changed a lot.
So I think it was like accidentally a good Race to World First boss, and then I think they have tuned it sufficiently quickly enough for that to not be a mark against it.
Yeah,
so
that's why we have a Race to World First thing, but I'm actually interested in the tuning thing, because I feel like the tuning grade specifically is separate, and
I feel like they have nerfed it fast enough that the tuning should be good on this. Like, yeah, okay, there were a couple of guilds in the world like 20 to 200 range. I guess 20 to 500 range that had some a couple of raid nights griefed by this thing, but in the scheme of things, I think we should be rewarding a nerf this swift with a good mark on that. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, no, I agree. So tuning, you think A?
I think so. Yeah, sure. I think they nerfed it well.
All right, so
and fast.
We have watchability. This is a chat question. Why is it? I'm so confused right now. Chat question. What the fuck is going on? I keep trying to put an A here, but it... Oh, okay. Wait, that's the wrong boss.
You good?
Yeah, I got it. I don't know. My keyboard was doing some crazy shit. It was actually pretty great to watch. A S. S is not a grade. Really fun. All the mechanics were obvious. It was easy to tell when people made mistakes or were doing the right thing. And then it had like kind of an epic kill, right? I could see that. So it sounds like chat really liked it. It sounds like this gets an A. So Race to World First, this is like an A+, right? If you're a Race to World First player and you are fighting a boss like this and you get to the 5th boss and it's this hard, that is what you want, right? That is ideal for you. I don't know if that's true for the rest of the community, but now, right as the rest of the community is getting there, okay, that's not true though. Were people here before, were guilds getting to this boss?
Yes.
With it still being too hard? The answer is yes, right?
Yeah, so there was about a week and a half where a lot of guilds were working on this boss that had no hope of killing it, which is bad. But they did nerf it both of those resets. They gave it a medium nerf and then a big nerf. So, I don't know. Also, how much of that is Brood Twister's fault versus how much of that is Rasha'nan's fault?
Yep, true.
And
if Rasha'nan was more of a barrier, it would be more of like a... When every boss before something is free, you end up with the wrong guilds at the wrong boss at the wrong time, right? And...
Yeah. It's like the Tindril problem, but the Tindril problem would have existed because they didn't nerf Tindril for 3 months sufficiently. But this boss, they nerfed sufficiently in 2 weeks. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I don't know how you... Like, it feels weird to give it all these A's, given that, like, yes, that was a problem. But, I don't know. It was a problem that they fixed, so...
So, how many guilds have killed Ovi'nax right now? You know, just even like a general number. Like 50? 100?
It wasn't many. It was like... it was like 50 pre-nerf. I don't know what is that now. Now it's 100.
So the vast majority of people who are going to kill this for cutting edge have not killed it yet. Is that the case?
Yes.
So I feel like it's got to be good because I imagine after this.
But a lot were working on it. There were like 500 working on it because there were 500 guilds that like killed Rasha'nan but hadn't killed this boss.
All right, what do you think? You're a man of the people.
I still want to give it a good grade here. I don't know. I mean, like, the problem I have with it is the comp restriction is still kind of annoying, so maybe we'll give it like a... It's also just not that much of a fun boss for the Sea Eagles. Maybe like a B minus.
Okay. I also want... So before the final grade, I do want to point out one thing. People often make an argument like, you can't do raiding without weak auras, and like weak auras are required for mechanics they make, and you know there's this arms race, and like this mechanic would never be made without weak auras. And I think that argument is applied. If there are 3 mechanics out of 100 where that argument makes complete sense, it's applied still to the other 97, and people often don't know what they're talking about when they say that. You cannot ignore that on this fight. Doing eggs with a Venn diagram popping the eggs with 8 debuffs spawning 4 eggs at a time, that would be fucking impossible without you being assigned to an egg. Impossible.
Yeah. Also, landing kicks on 3 worms without weak aura support for that would be...
No, impossible.
Not impossible, but like 500 pulls or something.
Yeah,
maybe
it'd be...
not 500 pulls,
yeah,
a
like,
lot.
It's just one of those bosses where... Yeah, I don't know. I think... I don't really know. Maybe... Weak auras are just so part of the game now that it's not a knock, but it's pretty rare that you have a boss where you could make that argument. And I think this is a boss where you could absolutely say without weak auras that shit would be like completely unreasonable for where it is. So, I mean, it looks like A plus B across the board. This has to be like an A or an A minus, right?
I think so, yeah. I want to give them
right.
higher grades because they did nerf it so quickly. I think that really
and they nerfed the
save this boss.
fuck out of it too. Like this boss got obliterated. What were those nerfs? Let me see. I know they did like the first nerf where they nerfed like the health of a few of the things, but I'm pretty sure the nerfs the other day were like absolutely crazy. Boss health by 15. Holy shit. Okay, 8 seconds instead of 6, 4 seconds on the cast.
Yeah, worms now cast faster on the lower difficulties than they do on Mythic.
Okay, volatile
crazy.
concoction periodic. What is that?
That is the tank dot.
Oh, okay. Parasites when they're buffed now scale twice as fast. Oh. You can actually stun blood parasites when they're casting Infest now. I think previously you could only fear them. Or
yeah.
It's like one of the things.
Or you could immune if the person who is being targeted like immuned, it would just kill them. It's crazy.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Oh, that's cool.
It's good.
Fix an issue where blood parasites would sometimes melee people, and then Vile Discharge. Okay, so pretty... I mean, a boss health nerf by 15% is crazy. That just means you could add like 1 or 2 healers, right? Which like you don't even need on that fight, but it just shows it goes to show you how much that's being reduced. Okay, cool. On to the old Nexus Princess, the latest in a line of sludge fisty type bosses. This one with a nice healthy dose of like some geometry, some symmetry. Somehow there was like no bugs with this. Like, could you not see like the suck from each one of these portals is so extreme that I'm surprised there wasn't like, okay, do you remember when in P1 Denathrius, right when Castle Nathria came out, when you landed from being lifted up in the air with Blood Price, it would DC you because it would trigger the game's speed hacking detection when you landed? Because you like landed at an angle. Somehow when you jump while you're getting sucked from 10 different directions on this fight, that doesn't happen, which is like I think really impressive from a design standpoint. There's like infinite strats you could do for this boss as well. I think that's really fucking cool. And I just like, I feel like I randomly went on a break, and I remember when Echo and us were on this boss, I went into like the raid leader Discord, and dude, they were all just fucking cooking, dude. They were just like drawing 10 different variations and things like that. Like, this is just like a strategist's favorite kind of. It's simple, but in a way, it's so fascinating to come up with something. And in every strat you've seen on this boss is they're all doing the same thing, but just slightly different. They're trying to make these daggers easier, or they're trying to make the decision when you get picked by Twilight Massacre to be more simple rather than more complex. But then if you make it more complex, you can gain in other areas. Like it's kind of a cool strategy boss like that. But yeah, I don't know. I think you're pretty high on this boss, right?
Yeah, this is a cool boss. It was a boss that has all these interesting and cool mechanics, and then was also randomly tuned to be like 30% harder numerically, and like everything one-shots you, and everything kills you through like 2 defensives. You need 3. So like that stuff, the Reaper mechanic on this fight also is like cool, but it feels like the rest of the mechanics aren't tuned around it existing. So when you actually played this boss pre-nerf as a non-Race to World First guild, it was very, like it was fun to be working on these mechanics, but it was taken away from a little bit by the fact that the tuning was that way. And I think it was the same for you guys with the fact that you had to one-tank it, and you're like, instead of really thinking about these mechanics now, you're just kind of bashing your heads into the numbers side of things long after you'd solved the interesting mechanics.
Yep. Yeah, no, I mean, that'll definitely affect my ranking of it, but what was our pre-raid ranking? Let's see. Nexus Princess, we gave it a concept of A+. I would agree with that. Execution of A-. I don't know exactly why we took points off pre-raid to execution. Do you remember why we did that?
I think it was like this can only be... I actually don't know.
I don't know either.
We might have just guessed that it would disappoint us because we're jaded, cynical creatures.
I mean, maybe.
Oh, that didn't really sound like us.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, regardless of the pre-rankings...
I don't know. Whoever made that video is an idiot.
Yeah. Let's see. Let me put the old rankings up. I forgot to post those yet.
Someone in chat says you thought the intermission was too easy.
Interesting.
The intermission definitely ended up not being too easy. That was fun and good.
That's an excellent example of adding tuning numbers, making something that is easy extremely fucking hard. There was one really annoying part of this fight that they fixed early in progression. So the dagger visual went far beyond where the actual animation went. They fixed that on the first day, I think. That was really frustrating. You would die to a dagger with the animation of the dagger ending like 10 feet before you. That was a really, really frustrating death. Also, this is one of those bosses where the dot that it does is extremely difficult. The one that when you get under 10%, you die. Well, that's the whole fight, but like the one that mostly procced that when people had to heal those Queensbane debuffs.
Yeah.
So we progressed this for like 100 more pulls than anyone else with that just doing 10% more damage. And they try to not do nerfs in the race where it like negatively affects you, but that absolutely kind of screwed us. Like at least like for the time anyone spent on the boss, because it was a lot easier to live after that. So that was a little unfortunate for us. But all right, let's go ahead and talk about the tuning. What did you think about the tuning on this fight?
I think it was definitely like this boss had probably 10% more health than it should have, and the damage numbers on Queensbane and everything, even after the Race to World First nerf, were too high for Race to World First. Like, I think this is badly tuned for Race to World First, and then it was also badly tuned for the last few weeks, and then I think the nerfs bring it into a good place now. So, yeah. I don't know. Unlike Brood Twister, I don't think it was like, oh, this is overtuned, but in a way that makes Race to World First cool. It's like, oh, this is overtuned in a way that's dumb even for Race to World First.
Yeah. Yeah. The tuning of this boss was... I mean, if it had like 5% less HP and you killed it 2-tanking, the tuning would have been perfect. I think. But like, the fact that you had to 1-tank this not only lowered my overall enjoyment of the fight significantly, but that was one of the least fun things I've ever experienced. Going on like a cold streak of pulls where you can't even see the fight all the way to the end, and you just are resetting after the first intermission literally every pull because of the one tank shit. Those are the kind of things that make me not want to like do this. Like I was like, seriously, like this is so not fun. So that was hugely disappointing for me. But I think still the pre-raid rankings that like still agree with it. So I would say tuning is like a C, because like it was still doable. I think there's some some interest in like, oh, these guilds get to like actually have to innovate in one tank and stuff.
I mean, there's definitely people that say that. I don't even think those are people that even watch the Race to World First like full time, if that makes sense. Like they probably, if you're watching a lot of polls, even that gets old.
Yeah. Okay. So, chat, watchability. How fun was it to watch Nexus Princess Ky'veza? Mostly A's. Mostly A's, some F's. I don't get the F. Why would it be F? Oh, maybe. I mean, I could see the one tanking thing being similarly less fun to watch too.
Yeah, and also it just like overstays its welcome a bit to be watching it for as many days as we were.
How many days were we on this boss?
Like 2.5, 2.
Yeah. Okay.
It is cool that you had another boss that deserves all the face cams showing up at the end.
Yeah, that is cool. We've had more than a few of those this raid.
Yeah, you had 4 of those this tier.
So Race to World First, I would give this like, I think if it died in 100 pulls less, I would give this an A. I would give this like a C or a D. Just the one tank thing absolutely ruined this fight. Cutting Edge though?
I think post nerf is going to be great.
I think it's going to be awesome, like A probably, because like it's still going to challenge you. They didn't nerf daggers, and daggers are by far the hardest part of the boss. So like you'll still feel challenged, but the boss will just feel fair. It was unfair how it was before. Yeah, I don't know. It's probably there. So then final grade, I still think would end up being around an A, because like who the fuck are the Race to World First? It's like we're like a couple of people, you know?
Yeah, and it was still like it sucked for you guys to play in Race to World First, but it was good to watch. So, you know, as long as they don't do that too often, that's kind of fun.
Yeah. That being said, Nexus Princess with a little bit better tuning could have been like the best patchwork fight ever. It could have been better than Sludgefist even. I mean, it's hard to even compare Sludgefist, and this boss was 300 pulls, right? Like, I don't... Like, what else could you even compare? I guess Rygalon, but like Rygalon's a very different fight.
I think Rygalon is maybe the most similar that you could get to this, yeah.
Due to difficulty,
but it's definitely different.
Yeah,
Rygalon had a similar feeling of like, how the hell are we supposed to make this numbers work, right?
Well, Rygalon had like multiple ways of making the numbers work. I mean, I guess this could have been Rygalon-esque if one of the guild, instead of trying to one tank, actually just kept two tanking and just kept seeing the end of the fight and just see if they could make the damage. Like, I actually think someone could have killed it that way.
Yeah, exactly.
The only thing is you would have had to have an absolute god pull, and that would have kind of been reminiscent of how Rygalon went between us and Echo as well. So, okay, cool. On to the old Silky Sea. This was this like kind of the biggest surprise of the raid? No.
Yes. I think it was. Well, no, I guess Ky'veza probably was. Well, it was the biggest surprise in the this was easier than we thought direction.
Yeah, exactly. If you saw Nexus Princess and Brood Twister were so hard, you're like, okay, well, this boss is going to be fucking crazy then. I mean, it is mechanically more challenging than both of those fights.
Yeah, I think it's just the kind of difficulty that you guys are sick at figuring out, right?
Yes. I also think that. So, I told Blizzard this on the day we were. I think it was at the beginning of the day when we killed Nexus Princess. I said, "Hey, this one tanking shit sucks. Please don't do this again." And then I'm like, "All right, after our dinner break, we're gonna send one tanking. Please don't make us do this." And then I was like, and then they didn't do anything. So I'm like, okay, I'm letting you know, just letting you know now, we're fucking one tanking the next boss too. Please fix it. Like, no one wants to go through this shit. It's just bad.
Yeah, that was just like the tank debuff wasn't correctly increasing damage done or something, right?
Yeah,
or
and
was
then
it just so
so we started by one tanking Silken Court, and then Blizzard nerfed its health, and then made it so the tank thing was correctly stacking. But that didn't make us stop one tanking. We just kept one tanking, and then they were like, okay, we'll do even more. So now it's an impossible to one tank thing. Like I think it had some of the biggest overkills I've ever seen on a deathlog. Actually, it was like you would get overkilled by like 200 million from the tank mechanic. Like, it was fucking insane. So you could not one tank it. But then they nerfed the boss's health again. That I found fascinating. They nerfed the boss by like 4%, and they're like, okay, you're going to two tank it instead of one tank it, so we'll nerf its health a little bit. And then they just made another change to further solidify the one tanking, but then why did they nerf its health again? I never really knew that.
Yeah, I guess they maybe coming off of Ky'veza, they were feeling a bit like, oh, now is our only chance, right? If we don't nerf it now, we won't be able to later.
Yeah.
Right? And like this race is already going over where we expected it to go.
Yeah. That maybe makes sense, yeah. The intermissions were like kind of difficult. I was actually really happy with our intermission. We were just going left all the time, and the EU guilds were going right, which that just happens. Like, we just,
I love that.
For some reason, we just always go in different directions. But then, like, we noticed that we were having some inconsistencies in the intermission. One that I saw that EU teams were also having, and it happened anytime. You know how the memory game goes 1, 2, 3, 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
So anytime you're trying to like stand in a 3 and then dodge to a 2, it's like you have to go pretty fast. It's the next one blowing up. When you're standing in a 2 and dodging into a 1, like ideally you want to dodge from a 4 into a 1, or a 4 into a 2, or a 3 into a 1. You'd never want to dodge, if you can help it, from a 2 anytime it's only 1 apart in the first intermission.
Yeah.
So we changed our intermission rotation to never have any group ever go from a like basically a 2 to a 1 or a 3 to a 2. And that improved our intermission consistency by 1,000,000 times. And I noticed Echo and Method never did that, and they had intermission consistency issues for all of progression. So something just to notice if you guys are ever starting this boss. You can probably just see the markers we use and how we do it, but like if you're struggling in the intermission, you can actually just completely remove that inconsistency from it. P2 and P3, I don't know, I feel like P3 was hard. Like everything about this fight was hard to position. It was just that the damage was free. You didn't have to have any wipes on this where you optimize damage. You needed to live to the end of the fight one time and it died, even with people dead. And that's where I feel like it probably wasn't tuned super well, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't think that's even that bad because you have to do so much prog to like get the mechanics down. Right? Like, even that kind of difficulty was, what, 170 pulls or something for you?
How long did it take us to kill this boss?
170 pulls, I think, something like that.
That's definitely going to be lower on all of the pull count predictions, but yeah, okay. I actually had no idea how... You could have told me 250, I would have believed you. I have no clue.
I'm just going off memory as well, so I could be lying.
Well, this is a boss you haven't done yet, so we're pretty much purely basing this off of like what it looks like. I think this is a boss that guilds will kill really quickly. Like, if you go in with a full strat, you're going to save so much time with not having to like change things around and stuff. Like, even up until the end of the last day, like, there were so many P3 optimizations being made with movement. I don't know. Let's see what we gave before. Silken Court, we gave a B+ on the concept. And a B on the execution. Replayability, B-. Slimy Elitists, A. Civilian, D. That's pretty polarizing. And then final grade, B-.
Yeah, so to the extent that... so the civilian ranking, right, doesn't make too much sense for a second last boss anyways, but...
Yeah.
Or like in the sense of thinking about it in the pug ability sense, right? Like which we do in the first few bosses with that ranking. I think this will be probably... Like, you need to have somebody willing to develop and understand and explain the strategy to your group, which not all lower-tier guilds do have. But, I don't know. I think as long as you have that, it should be pretty generous, right?
Yeah. I would say that the mechanic didn't end up being as hard as everyone thought, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Like,
I think a lot of that was that they made some really good changes coming out of PTR, right? Like, in PTR, it was ranged players that get targeted by web bombs, and now it's Mark of Rage players, right? And that's, like, so much better.
Well, specifically, Mark of Rage ranged.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, as long as you have 6 of them, yeah. Yeah, so I did find that interesting. That made the boss significantly better. But I also think that when people were looking... If you were to... This is an all-time mechanic... For if someone were to tell you the mechanic and describe it to you, like I did a few times, and every single time I described it, my chat was like, oh my God, that sounds so hard, right? Versus like what a really good strat can do to mitigate all of those problems. I feel like that this is just one of those mechanics where people are always going to think it's harder than it was. Because like even when I was describing that to people, I'm like, it's not even a big deal. You're just kind of like doing 2 different fights from 2 different positions, and it's not like that ever changes. You're always the same color every pull, so like, it doesn't really matter, right? Like for example, of all of our wipes, almost none of them were people running into each other the other color ever. Like that's not an issue with this fight with a good strat. So I think that part was probably a little bit overblown. And I'm glad they kind of stuck to it for that. I think the tuning... I mean, we can't say the tuning is great, right? Like, for the Race World First, it was easy. It's going to get absolutely crushed with gear.
Yeah. I mean, it's the second to last boss. It has difficult mechanics. Obviously not, like, unsolvable nuclear difficulty like we thought it would have, but I think that makes it so that it's, like... I don't know. I don't want to... I don't think every second last boss needs to be, like, the hardest mechanics and numbers tuning. I think if it's, like, pretty tough on one and kind of fair on the other, that's, like, a good place for a second last boss to be. It just doesn't line up with how difficultly tuned the bosses before it were. But I think now that they've been nerfed and it hasn't, it's probably actually still now a step up in difficulty from them, which is good.
Yeah, which is ideal. I actually think the difficulty curve now might actually be pretty good in the raid.
Yeah.
Also, someone in chat, I heard someone say this. Someone said, didn't you say this was the hardest fight Blizzard ever made? And then someone responded to it and said, yes, he did. I'm confused because I definitely never said that. I said...
No, you always have said that you have a really good cook for it as well, right? Like, yeah, it was going to sound really hard, but then you guys would have, like...
If I'm going to guess what the situation is here, I said... If you were going to look at any Dungeon Journal boss and then add the Silken Court Mythic mechanic, that might be the hardest boss they've ever made. Or, like, on paper, it's the hardest boss on testing they've ever done. I've never... Saying that I would claim a boss that I've never seen before is going to be the hardest boss ever made, especially one that isn't even an end boss, I mean, that's just absolute nonsense. I would never say that. He said it might. Well, there's a big difference between it might and this is going to be the hardest boss ever made, right? Either way. Moving on. Just love making shit up. Watchability. This is a chat question. How fun was Silken Court to watch? I'm trying to think. It's like... The red and blue thing, I guess you're kind of always looking at it. As a player, you don't even think about it. But as a viewer, maybe you're like, oh man, they might run into each other. There's a lot of orb soaking. There's like the web stuff. the web stuff. I don't know. There's like the intermissions look insane, right? Like the second intermission looks fucking super cool. I think. Yeah, like look at this. Like I don't know. That looks like kind of sick. You're like moving around and soaking orbs. I'm seeing
a lot of Bs.
Well, I saw a lot of A's earlier. When they started spamming earlier, it was like, I'll put B. Yeah, there's a lot of A's, a lot of B's. Okay. Like, I'm trying to... What's the hardest boss with the least watchability? Was it Jailer?
Halandras was kind of hard to watch because you never actually saw the bomb that was blowing up.
Interesting, because I remember asking before what was your all's favorite bosses to watch, and they always bring up Halandras.
Interesting. Yeah, I always hated having to cast it because, like, I don't know what the hell to say. It's like, oh, yep, they're dead again. All right.
Yeah, that also started the, like, Shaq screaming bang when you die to an instant raid wipe. And he still does that to this day on any boss where you can die to something instantly going off, and it is not my favorite thing. Okay. I think we... Okay, watchability B. Race to World first. 170 pull last boss. Pretty cool strategy stuff. It's got to be solid, right? Like, how... That's not bad.
Yeah.
I guess it, like, kind of... Does it get points against it in the Race to World first that the previous boss was harder? I think that's more of a knock on the previous boss than...
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think it was appropriately difficult for where it was, and the previous bosses were too hard. Maybe it could have been slightly harder for Race to World first, and that would have been better, but... Only slightly.
Okay. Okay. I'll put a B. All right, Cutting Edge.
Yeah, I think pretty good. I think this will be the kind of boss where it's like, you learn the encounter, you progress the encounter, you figure out the mechanics, you learn the mechanics. Once you get them right, you kill the boss.
I think this is one of those bosses where unless they nerf it, and I don't know that they actually need to, I think this is going to have the exact same pull count between the first kill and, like, kills 5 months from now. Because you never really even needed the damage. You just needed to, like, learn how to do the dispels at the end of the fight. And then you'll be there, so... I think Cutting Edge will end up being, like, a really well-liked last boss, actually.
Yeah.
I put an A for that.
I like that.
And then Final Grade.
It's even like a B, maybe?
Yeah. There are a lot of B's above it. Okay. Queen Ansurek.
All right.
The old spider herself. All right, so I'm actually interested in a few things on this. So I actually want to hear from the chat right away before we talk about tuning. What do y'all think about the watchability? I actually have no idea how fun or not fun this boss was to watch. Mostly A's. It's biased. I mean, it would be... We got world first on the other 3 bosses we just talked about, too. It'd be the same thing, right? There's probably some bias, but...
Yeah, this was the hardest, most skill-testing, funnest boss ever.
Yeah, what did you think about watching this, like, as a caster, every pull?
I thought it was great. I thought it was, like, okay, it had a slight problem with Phase 1 got boring to watch, but was still really hard, and you still wiped to it a lot. So, like, we didn't want to commentate too much about Phase 1, but also you would die to it, you know, a decent chunk of the time.
Yeah, I could tell that. I could tell when I started hearing you guys talk about, like, oh, like, there was such a low P1 push. I'm just like, oh, that's such a random thing to be fixated on.
It's like the only thing that's kind of fun to track at that point.
Yeah, it's like when you're casting that boss 400 times, like, the first time the pull gets interesting is how low of a P1 push you get, and it's like your whole fixation, I think, what about P2?
Cool.
Did you get to see people going through the portals and shit?
Yes. Yeah, the portal tracking was good. We had like a picture-in-picture of the other side half the time.
Oh, that was cool.
Which is
okay.
good. Yeah,
And
production
then
went hard.
And then P3, I'm assuming, pretty watchable.
Yeah, P3 was great. It was, you know, fast-paced. You saw why you wiped usually.
Yeah, the Queen
nice.
Ansurek follows a long line of bosses where when you fall through the floor or go up a level, or really just like traverse to different platforms in general, those bosses, there's only like 6 or 7 of them that are end bosses or second to last bosses, but they're like all really good.
Yeah, it's like I mean, it's a big spider that goes up, right? So it's basically the same as Senarth, but it has ads that you kill and they knock you onto the next platform, which is basically the same as Dathia. So it's Dathia plus Senarth,
which are 2 great bosses.
Yeah, exactly. I have a display to one of those boss rooms.
Wait, you have the Senarth display?
No, I don't. I wanted to see one though.
Dude,
I heard there was some at the
it was
place.
at the event.
Yeah, I
it.
fled too quickly. If I'd seen it, I would have yoinked it.
So I found it. So Shaq left his stream on all night during the party. His Discord stream. He doesn't stream on Twitch. He streams to Discord just to fire it up of his POV. But it was this. This was in the background of his thing. Bro, one of the most rare relics of the world is just sitting there on the ground. I can't even fucking believe it. There's only 3 Senarth maps, and that's one of them. It's like technically the worst one. It's like not even P1, 2, or 3. It's like the stairs in between. But yeah.
But yeah, I mean, okay. You're right though that like the bosses where you go up or down, it's what, Blackhand, Sire.
If you include traversing to different platforms, it includes Tindril.
Sylvanas, I guess.
I think Sylvanas is a great boss, by the way. I know when you said that, immediately some people in chat were like, Sylvanas. Bro, I promise you, if you have negative feelings about Sylvanas, you are remembering Heroic. That's it. Mythic Sylvanas was fine. Mythic Sylvanas P2 was just fine. Okay. So they said the watchability is an A. I think the tuning was an A. It has to be an A, right? Like, you just got done with some weird tuning earlier on, which shows that it was easy for Blizzard to tune incorrectly this raid. And none of the damage you were taking was really unfair. I think we would have still killed this boss on the same night if they had never nerfed Condemnation, for example. The P1 intermission shield, completely fair. We started out by lusting it, and then we started potting it and moved it to lust away. And then we started moving pot and every single cooldown off of it until we had exactly the amount we needed to break it. P2 felt fair. The Acolyte health felt fair. Like, nothing on the fight felt unfair damage-wise. And then on a boss that a lot of people... By the way, guys, I don't use Reddit, but the other day, I was like, you know what? You know who says crazy shit sometimes? People on Reddit. So I just, like, went to see what people were saying about the race on Reddit during all of it, and that was a trip. The amount of people that were so confident that this boss needed to not only get nerfed a little bit, needed to get nerfed by like 10%. Was that the number I was seeing? Like,
yeah,
I was seeing some shit like that. That was crazy. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's no other argument other than this boss had to be an A in tuning, right? Like, would you argue anything else?
I agree. I think very clearly tuned extremely well for Race to World First. And I suspect that this tuning will just hold. Like, I don't know. Will they have to nerf some mechanical intensity of maybe P2? I kind of feel like P2 might actually be the hard bit for, World 200 guilds or something on this boss. But
yeah.
Will they do some nerfs to tone down some parts of this fight? Maybe. But, like, for the most part, the hard parts of this fight get absolutely demolished by having more gear, right? Like, any boss where there's a hard boss damage check and also hard ad damage check, you get double dipping value on extra item level because you kill the ads faster and that gets you back onto the boss faster, right?
Correct, yeah. I think this boss will definitely get easier with nerfs. There's one main thing. I think they want to nerf web blades by like 10%, or they can just let eye level naturally do this, But if they ever made it to where web blades didn't one-shot you, that would be by far the best like progression nerf they could make. That would make progression on this so much easier. But like the intermission shield would never need to get nerfed. The boss HP, I mean, in like 4 weeks from now, like a month, which is probably when even still the majority of cutting edge guilds will not have killed this boss yet. This boss will get sent to the Shadow Realm. You won't even see the 5th Acolytes anymore. You will kill the boss before the 5th Acolytes. Which is missing a lot of progression in that fight, right? So, I feel like people are not going to struggle with this boss, and dude, I could be crazy. I don't know if they need to nerf this boss at all.
Yeah, I kind of think that it just automatically gets nerfed, right? Like, a boss this hard in position 5 or 6 in the raid is a disaster. As the end boss, like, that's kind of good. And it gets nerfed so well by gear.
Some of my chat says, I think it's undertuned, but that's just me. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like one of the hardest end bosses ever. Probably.
I mean, you guys had 15 seconds. You guys could have killed it without Chaos Brand. Can that boss ever be really good tuned?
Could have been a little harder for me, I think.
Yeah.
All right, Race World first A, Cutting Edge A, Final Grade A.
Yeah.
All right. On to some other stuff. Where do you think this Ansurek ranks on boss difficulty?
Like compared to other end bosses?
Or other bosses, I guess, but end bosses are usually the ones that are this hard, yeah.
I think that it's a... For Race World First, it looked like it was probably the hardest boss. It's tough because, like, comparing... So it's maybe hard, easier than, like, Unat. Easier than Kill Jaden was at the time. But, like, we sucked. Even back in Unat, we kind of sucked, and Kill Jaden, we definitely sucked.
Well, okay, Kill Jaden is a separate thing. So Kill Jaden took a really long time to kill and took many, many attempts. But that was before the Race World First really got any support. Right. So, like, for example, Method was on that boss for, like, 3 days before anyone else. And it was unplayably overtuned for, like, the first 3 to 4 days on that fight. Like, I think they nerfed the damage you were taking in P1 by the main mechanic by 100%. Like, they nerfed it in half. So 50%. So, like,
yeah, I mean, okay, if we're talking about pre-kill nerfs, then Razagath obviously harder as well.
Now,
Fetid Devourer.
Well, see, that's the thing. Like, Razagath... Yeah, I mean, like... Yeah, I guess you're saying, like, how hard it was compared to when things weren't
When things were
nerfed.
killed, right?
Yeah, when things were killed. Like, Razagath, when it was killed, was very easy. Yeah... I don't know. Like, you can't... Like, Unat's really weird, I think, because, like, most of the pulls on that boss were overtuned, and that version wasn't killed. Like, recent bosses, I think it's definitely harder than Fire-Ak. I think, like, every part of that boss is harder than Fire-Ak, actually. I think that's, like, something that's fascinating about Ansurek. You never get a chance to, like, lay back. Pretty much in even any hard bosses, like, there's a phase that's, like, more chill. No part of this fight is chill. You can wipe in the intermission 400 pulls into this fight. You can wipe in P2. You can wipe at the beginning of P3. You can wipe in P1. Like, yeah, this boss is definitely insanely hard. I joked about this on the broadcast. It's super hard for me to ever give this answer. That's why I asked you. Because, like, I'm not only incentivized, but, like, with recency bias and the fact that we won, of course this boss is not only the hardest, but the most fun and best boss ever, you know? But I was interested to hear what you thought. It'll help more, I think, once you actually do it. But, like, even by pull count, I think it's, like, way up there. Even though pulls are not the best metric for that. But, yeah, this boss is a motherfucker, man. This boss is really hard. Someone said Jailer. Jailer's probably a good comparison, right?
Yeah. Jailer, I think, is a good comparison, yeah.
It's probably the closest, I think. I don't remember how long it took us to kill Jailer, but also Jailer was weird. Like, regardless of what guild you're looking at, every guild on Jailer was operating at like 70% effectiveness. Like, we were doing one of the hardest bosses ever, but every guild doing that boss was absolutely running on fumes. Like, we were absolute dog shit compared to what you would have been in, like, the first week or two, right? So that probably added some time and length to that boss, for sure. I'm trying to think what was harder on Jailer. So, like, P1 Jailer, probably just as hard as Ansurek. I think P2 Ansurek and P2 Jailer are also both hard. P3... You know, honestly, I think, Jailer was probably just as hard. Like, there wasn't another part of Jailer where you could relax ever. Like, the easiest part of that boss was the last phase. But, like, once you got to the last phase, you had already done, like, one of the hardest fights of all time, right?
Yeah.
Oh, and also, so many people didn't have that opinion of Jailer. I forgot about this. Wasn't Jailer, like, the most nerfed boss ever?
It was, yeah. It got nerfed into the absolute ground because you guys did it with the same eye level that everybody else had to do it with.
Yeah, it got, like... I remember...
Anduin, I guess, was also nerfed. That whole tier was nerfed by so much.
I remember taking some time off of farm in that tier and then coming back and watching a Jailer and genuinely not understanding what was happening. Like you were skipping entire phases. You weren't swapping and killing ads. You were... Like, the boss was just in the last phase as soon as you got into P3. Like, it was so weird.
Yeah. They actually do it's like a tome of nerfs to that. I think there was a Wowhead page somewhere that had the cumulative list of nerfs.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find it.
Oh, one second.
Which I don't think this boss, this raid needs as much, right? Like, bosses 5 and 6 did, but I think the others are okay. Okay, I will DM you.
Wait, how did you get this?
I Googled it.
Oh, wow.
If you scroll down and look at, like, the Anduin section.
Oh, the Anduin section is crazy. It's not even on Anduin Mythic.
It goes so hard.
Anduin Heroic is crazy. Anduin Heroic got nerfed. Well, I don't even want to look at the amount of times because there's a bunch of different dates, but I'm pretty sure it was like 10 times.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a version of Anduin in Heroic Week that only Echo and us killed at all, and it was nerfed.
Yeah.
It was nerfed on Thursday, and we each only had 1 kill on it, and that was as hard as most Mythic bosses were. Like,
It's certainly, after all the nerfs, Mythic was easier than that version of Heroic. Maybe not. Maybe not.
No,
certainly.
not that much. Yeah, but it was.
It was close.
Yeah, it was really hard. Mostly because the barrier was just so huge to heal.
Yeah.
And then Jailer, Jailer Mythic also nerfed an absolutely insane amount of times. See, that's the thing. I don't think... What's really interesting is I would say Jailer and this boss are probably similarly very difficult, but I don't think this boss is going to have to get nerfed at all.
Right. It's because this boss, you know, eye level is going to nerf it by a lot. And also, there's that stacking raid buff, and, like, I think those will be enough.
Yeah. Which means, I guess, that means the boss is pretty good, too. All right.
Yeah, because the difficulty comes from ads as well, which makes it a lot easier to nerf automatically than if it's just single target.
All right. Now we have some pull count predictions.
Oh, God.
That we have to look at. Dude, what is happening with my notepad right now? I'm trying to close my notepad, and it wants me to save or not save every note I've made in the last 6 months. Okay. So I sent mine to you, and then I also have chats. I need to get this from my YouTube video, I think. All right. So we have chats on the left. Chat guessed Ulgrax in 1 poll. That was correct. Bloodbound Horror in 3. That was incorrect. Sikran in 4. That was incorrect. Rasha'nan in 1. Isn't that interesting that Twitch chat even guessed Rasha'nan would be in less polls than Sikran? That doesn't even make sense. Like, Rasha'nan's harder than Sikran for sure, right?
Yes. Well, Sikran, I think, could have been harder. Rasha'nan, like, if you're just looking at the heroic versions of the fight, Rasha'nan feels more like Assault of the Zakali, right?
Yeah, but this was before the tier even came out, right?
Yeah. This was the one that you were talking about, like all the mechanics not really making any sense together or anything like that, and like just being kind of spammy. I don't know. I think it's plausible.
Okay, so then Twitch chat guessed 43 for Ovi'nax, which you
Idiots.
guys, yeah, fucking idiots. You guys were very wrong about that. Nexus Princess 72, which is, that's like the Sludge Fist guess. Like that's how long Sludge Fist took. So like I can kind of see the thinking. Also, unfortunately, what you and I both did was we assumed a regular difficulty curve. But that's not quite what happened in this raid, right? Like, you just got done with Rasha'nan and then it was, like, hard as fuck. Which has really never happened before. That was kind of new. And then Silken Court was 270. Ansurek 325 is a good guess. Because that's actually... When you guys guess that, end bosses that take more than 300 pulls are not many at all. I don't know of any, like, top of my head how many, but it's like really uncommon. Like probably one an expansion on average. So, and then you guys guessed Thursday of week 2, and then it ended up dying what, Saturday or Sunday of week 2?
It died 2 minutes into Sunday of week 2.
Oh yeah. Also,
the poll started on Saturday though, so
yeah, that counts.
You know, what are the referees going to say on that? I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about mine. So I can say one thing. The first, I got half of the raid not only close, but exactly right.
Wow.
So, so the first 4, I didn't even miss by 1. I fucking nailed that shit. Okay. After that, it gets pretty bad. But in my defense, I think the like regular community would have been happier with a normal difficulty curve that I put here. Maybe that's some copium. But like Ovi'nax, when it wasn't completely insane, like that version of Ovi'nax you guys are fighting now, that boss would have died in 25 pulls. Nexus Princess 70. Yeah, maybe that was a bad, because like not even getting the damage to do it, I just didn't think they would make the dot that hard. Like, I'm pretty sure it's the hardest hitting dot ever. Queensbane. Like, that dot is absolutely insane. And then I guessed... Somehow I guessed high on Silken Court, and then I thought Ansurek would be easier than Silken Court. That was a bad read. Because, like, even I knew that, like, Silken Court wasn't going to be as hard as people thought it was. Yeah, I just disrespected the fuck out of Ansurek, but I guess it didn't really matter too much. We disrespected the fuck out of that boss live on stream last week. So basically, if there's anything to learn from this, is that you guys should never judge my pull count predictions at all. What were yours? Did you publicly put any pull count predictions?
I did. I put them in at I sent them into the Liquid, but I sent it through a forum, not a Discord DM. Let me see if they pulled it up ever. Mine were pretty similar to yours. I had a little bit higher on Ovi'nax, a little bit lower on Nexus Princess, I think.
You had lower on Nexus Princess.
Yeah, I was trying to do a hot take that Ovi'nax would maybe be harder than Nexus Princess. And then, because everybody at the start was thinking that Nexus Princess was going to be harder.
So when we first went to Ovi'nax, you were like,
yeah, exactly. I was like, oh my god. I knew it.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. But then as soon as you said, oh, we looked at the health of this and it's a harder check, I was like, oh, never mind.
So apparently the Liquid stream showed your pull count predictions a lot.
Yeah.
But I don't want to scroll through like hundreds of hours of footage. I'm sure someone in chat can find it.
Yes, Ky'veza in chat. That's one of our production guys. Yes, send me.
Oh, that's W shit right there. Love that.
Poggers.
Someone in chat asked, did you think Ansurek could have been doable on week 1? I think so. That last pull we had made me think that a lot of things were possible. Like, the only problem is, with less gear, you would have had to use even more cooldowns in the intermission. So, like, naturally, you'd lose extra boss damage rather than just your eye level. But, I mean, we beat the Enrage by so much that, I mean, I'm almost positive we could have, yeah.
I don't know. You would have had to kill all the ads. More globals would have to divert to the ads as well.
Wait, what ads?
P3 ads.
Oh no, acolytes just get put in the blender. We didn't swap to those ever. That's where all of our damage came from. Just melee pressing their single target abilities on the boss, and somehow it's just one-shotting all the ads at the same time. All right. What is this?
Okay, there's mine.
Wait, give me the other casters too. All right, Dratnos had this sent in. He guessed 1 on... Okay, he got it 100% right for the first 4. Ooh, this was pretty good. Like, Brood Twister is like 60 off. Nexus Princess is... everyone got cooked on Nexus Princess.
I mistyped there.
I see. You meant 440.
Yes, I forgot a 0.
Silken Court was pretty close, I think, actually. And then Queen Ansurek 255. That's closer than mine, at least. I wonder if any of the casters got it like super right. Didn't Zyro predict 1,000 on Silken Court?
He had 999 for Silken, yeah.
All right. Now let's look at some Race to World First comp predictions and see how correct those got. So we'll start. Well, you guys, I didn't make a prediction. You just saw mine when it happened. But I have...
Oh, wow, and you got the World First comp exactly right.
Yeah, it's easy for me. Truly. It's something I cannot lose. But I actually think we did get it right because, like...
Yeah, other guilds did different
like,
stuff.
other guilds started doing what we were doing after we were doing it, right?
Method had the blood decays on Ovi'nax first. That was good.
That is true. A lot of people didn't realize that during the race. I think for the first time ever, Method did something that we saw and we're like, oh, that's smart.
Pop-Tart Corndog was prepping 2 blood decays for that fight since PTR as well.
Well, we were just going to do 1 Vengeance, because like if you're going to bring a tank to grip and you need 2 blood decays to do all of them, why wouldn't you bring a Vengeance, right? But
yeah,
we didn't have a Vengeance prepped on one of our 2 tanks. It was like Shaq doing it. So when you weren't 3-tanking it, it was kind of a really hard boss to 2-tank as Vengeance while doing that. So it just made sense to do Blood. Like, Blood was specifically really tanky on that fight. All right, chat list. Pulling it up right now.
Oh, here's full caster predictions if you still want those. I don't know.
Oh yeah, let me look at those real quick. Okay, we have makes 7 on Bloodbound Horror, 30 on Sikran.
Non-believers, I don't know what to tell you.
Rasha'nan 10. Aya said 50 on Rasha'nan. Okay. 100. Wait, but Aya got the closest on Brood Twister.
Yeah.
But then got the farthest on Nexus Princess. Silken Court. A lot of people got really close. And then Ansurek. No one even got the right starting number. I mean, this tier defied a lot of expectations, right? And that's kind of the thing.
Yeah, there are definitely a few casters that you can tell fell for the classic bit of, oh, the first bosses are going to be hard.
Has that ever been true?
No.
I'm trying to think. When was like maybe Prototype Pantheon took a few pulls?
Like I think the hardest was Sanctum, where Soul Render Dormazane, right, was kind of tricky.
Yeah, that boss was hard. Now, that raid was so weird. Seeing Soul Render Dormazane into Painsmith and then the rest of the fights being so easy is like in this raid, if you would have killed Brood Twister and then Nexus Princess and the next 2 bosses were a joke or something. It's just so strange.
I guess there have been a few. There had like Fetid was fairly early in the raid. So there's sometimes there's randomly something early.
Here is chat's comp. We have Guardian Blood DK. So you guys got Guardian. You got Guardian, right? Yeah. I was interested in seeing Blood DK when you guys put this because, like, okay, let's say you're playing Guardian because you want the best raid buff from it. why would you play Blood DK? Like, I guess for you guys in chat who posted that, like, why? Like, it doesn't bring you a raid buff. There aren't any grips on the last boss at all. Like, what is the reason you thought Blood DK would have been used? It was for Ovi'nax? So, I mean, maybe we could have clarified, but when you're saying, like, Raise World, you're, like, almost exclusively talking about the end boss. You can just play random tanks on the middle boss. Doesn't matter. That's not... The end boss comp is everything.
My guild is playing that tank comp.
Really?
There are a few benefits that are kind of nice. Like, Blood DK is just easy and chill to play on all these fights, and also you can just hold the boss most of the time, and then your Guardian can be in cat form, which is a good synergy.
Yeah, I guess,
and
like...
we already have a Windwalker as well, so we actually don't need that second raid buff from a tank slot.
So I think part of the misconception was also people not realizing how strong Brewmaster was. Like,
yeah.
Brewmaster is actually immortal and does the most damage. Like, it's insane. So, like, Brewmaster turbo owns, and if you were to, like... And it's not like you have to bring a DK somewhere, so it has to be your tank. You also happen to bring a couple DPS DKs. Windwalker is great, by the way. We would have played a Windwalker on the last boss instead of 2 warriors. Trill was just doing AWC stuff. I'm pretty sure Windwalker...
Yeah, so given you have both... Given that neither would bring a raid buff, how much better is Brewmaster than DK? DK brings an extra AMZ.
Yeah, it's probably pretty similar. Yeah.
Yeah, probably about the same.
And Windwalker would have been fucking incredible on the last boss. I think Windwalker could have been one of the best classes. We almost had, on the reset, we almost ran 1 warrior, and we geared Boomy's Windwalker from nothing just for the last boss. We almost did that. We probably would have done that if he had a geared monk already. And let's talk about a healer comp. So this was just... It's something that a lot of people did. So for as broken as Preservation was, probably the most broken HPS healer relative to other healers ever. The only other healer I can think of is like Mistweavers at the beginning of Mob. Or maybe Disc Priest in Uldir, but that's more talking about the damage they were doing, not purely the healing. So like you almost played 3 Pres Evokers. They were so broken. So I think people missed that a little bit, but I think to chat, like a rainbow healer comp sounds better to you, I guess. Is that the reasoning? What did you think, Dratnos, for yours?
Yeah, I mean, you need your Paladin, you need your Priest.
So you actually don't need your Paladin. So like we actually were considering dropping Holy Paladin for this race because with preservation, you do need Holy Priest. Like Holy Priest is exactly what Preservation isn't in a healing profile. It's just spot healing. And that is what you need with Prez. So like Holy Priest would have always existed. You don't need Holy Paladin with Prez at all. We just played that because it was our healers. And I think for a lot of people's guilds, you'll probably just play in most raids whatever healer comp your guild is best at. And that usually works, right? I think this tier, the only healer you would have really been bad with is like Resto Druid was terrible. Like really bad. And Disc is actually better than Holy, but it's not better than Holy with 2 Pres Evokers. It's too much of the same thing. So that isn't too... Well, I mean, I guess you guys got it pretty wrong, right? Like, they got I mean, they put Disc instead of Holy, which is you played Holy on every boss.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you got 2 Pres wrong when... that was like locked in and would have never changed, right?
A lot of people played Arsham on some fights, but yeah. There was often not replacing the Prez.
Yeah, I think this tier, the best comp is this. I think it is, if you were to like put whatever I think the best comp is for, well, not like every boss, but like it would probably be Prez, Holy, and Resto Shaman. I don't think you would play Holy Paladin. I'm pretty sure that is the best healing comp. The main reason no one played that is because you just kind of have a Holy Paladin player because they've been the best forever. Like if Dryny had a geared shaman, maybe we would have played it, but pretty sure this comp is the best. It's definitely the best for Ansurek because you need more speeds. Like you only have one roar and like one wind rush, so adding another one from healer would have like made an extremely positive impact. And then let's look at DPS. So Rogue 2 Warrior, you guys got that right? We were thinking about running more warriors. I think they nerfed them going into the reset, didn't they?
Yeah, poor warriors, man. They got nerfed so much, and now you only played 2 of them.
Well, they got nerfed. I mean,
some guilds played 3 and 4 on some fights as well. Poor warriors, though, they got over nerfed.
I think if I'm a warrior player, I think I am a little upset about the nerfs, though. I know that's the bit you're going with.
Yeah, I'm going for a little bit there.
Okay,
they were trolling.
They were nerfed mostly because of Ansurek, because you AoE'd every root set, and you AoE'd the spiders in P2, and then on Mythic, the boss that matters, there are no roots in P1, or very little, and the adds in the intermission are irrelevant, the spiders. They matter in the last phase, and having warriors for, like, I forget the name of those little spiders, but those little dudes in the last phase is good. But, like, warriors were doing way more damage on heroic logs than they actually were going to do on that boss, and I believe that's why they got nerfed, but... Like, think about it. Can you imagine how broken warrior would be for Ansurek if you couldn't break your roots in P1?
Yeah, you would need like 4 of them.
You would need 4 or 5 of them. They'd be the only way you could progress the fight. Also, really strange, they added a root mechanic in P1 on an end boss, and they didn't do the Tindril thing where you're punished by breaking the roots. I just thought it was fascinating that they just let you break them, like all progression. But also, imagine that boss if that happened, right? Fucking 600 pulls. Okay, you guys added a DH. So we were really close to playing Guardian Vengeance Demon Hunter. The reason for this is it's not super complicated, but if you were to look at the Druid DPS, Feral, Havoc, and Windwalker, the best DPS class out of these 3 we thought was Windwalker. I think Havoc and Windwalker are close, but I still think Windwalker is probably a little better for the last bosses in this raid. So naturally, it's like, okay, well, if everything was equal, you would just bring Guardian and Vengeance from tank. Just like you could have a Vengeance tank prepped for a Brood Twister, which means you wouldn't have to prep Blood Decays. All kinds of stuff. We ended up going back on the last second. Shaq is an insane Havoc player. We were going to have him play Frost Decay and play 3 of those instead. But I'm glad we stuck with Havoc because Havoc popped the fuck off the second week. Like when they gained tier, they gained way more from tier than like even we were expecting. Like they went from doing 0 damage to like extremely good. So that ended up being the right move. 1 DK is what you guys guessed. I think for the majority of the raid, that's right? You sat them all on Nexus Princess. You brought as many as you had on Brood Twister. And then we played 2 on the last boss. I think Echo played 1. Is that right?
Yep.
I think their second DK player was also their Ret, though, I think. So they might have been tied with how many they could have played. Enhance, you could have played 2. Enhance is crazy strong. They're not as good at Ansurek. They, like, struggled being alive, actually. Like, Impec is, like, one of the best or the best player in our guild. And he was definitely dying a lot in this fight. I think Enhance definitely struggled to live a little bit. Now let's talk about Evoker. So I gave you all the benefit of the doubt. Because I was like, you guys wanted to list this as Arcane Mage. And I'm like, do you guys really want to list a spec? Because mages are mages. If Fired Up sees that Frost is better, he'll just play Frost. So like, so because of that, I let you just put Evoker as Dev and Aug. But I want to point out that you all definitely thought it was Aug and never Dev. Right? Like that had to be. I think that's probably the thing that the most people got wrong. Like everyone was sure that you were playing Aug.
Yeah, chat. Imagine thinking that, you dumb drops.
You know what's
I always knew it was Dev.
So you know what's fascinating
personally.
about Aug on single target? It benefits from some less valuable single target specs to make Aug better. So like, let me give you an example. If you were to play Aug on Nexus Princess, a pure single target fight, do you know that it would actually be a raid DPS increase to play Frosty K's on Nexus Princess?
Because different CD timing?
Correct. So even though Frosty K's are probably not a class you want to bring to Nexus Princess, if you're playing Aug, they become the biggest raid DPS increase to bring, because they have damage profiles and they have burst windows that last longer and happen at different times than other classes do. And it increases the... Because like Aug is simply every ebb and might you're doing whatever the top 3 DPS in your raid are doing, right? So a perfect Aug comp would be every ebb and might. There's 3 classes like popping their cooldowns, I guess. So it depends on the current design of the game, the current meta, what class you're bringing. But Aug can kind of vary a lot based on what classes are good and are in your raid comp. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it definitely suffers from the fact that they called a lot of the 3-minute classes and made them all 2 minutes as well.
That massively matter. If there are 2 or 3 classes in your raid that do unholy DK level burst on 3 minutes, like old Demo burst, that is awesome for Aug, because those are just not competing with the other 2-minute classes. Like, right, if everyone's a 2-minute class or 1-minute class, you have valleys at 3 minutes that weren't there before, and that directly affects Aug's power level. Yeah.
Dev was sleeper good though, although they did buff it twice and fix a massive bug with it in like the 2-week lead up.
So we were playing 2 Dev on every boss before they buffed it.
Wow.
The last time. Yeah. Or maybe not every boss, but like we were like the class we were among the highest of, like we had someone swap to Evoker in the week before the Friday buffs, because we thought that's how good Dev was. There's also a few talents and things that people can do that are better with bombardments. Like specifically pets have no ICD on proccing bombardments where players do. Stuff like that. There's some BM Hunter shit. Warlocks. You guys got that right? Just the one? Cool. I don't think it ever made sense to play 2 outside of Silken Court.
Echo played 2 for a lot of Ansurek prog.
Yeah, so we thought about doing that, and the reason why we didn't is they would mainly carry in P2, and by the time we wanted to swap to them, we were already out of P2, so it didn't really matter. And then they would also carry killing the far acolytes if like your strat was something like make sure everything's you pull the boss next to 2, you cleave them down, and then you have ranged like Havoc, Chaos Bolt, kill the back 2. And in that case, if that's actually how you needed to kill the boss, you would have had to play Destrolock. The problem is with that, you're doing no boss damage when you do that. And it's much better to have a melee comp and just fucking run around like a bunch of idiots in a circle and just cleave all of them down while doing all of your damage to the boss. And when you're doing that, Warlock is actually quite dog shit. It's like really, really bad. It's like probably your worst class in the entire comp. THD existed to make P2 easy for us and to apparently soak orbs at the last second at the end of the fight. But yeah, he was doing very little damage. We thought about sitting Warlock on that fight. There wasn't like a lot of really good gates, and once you're used to the fight, Hellstones... I mean, losing Hellstones would suck, but we definitely thought about it. And then 3 mages. So I think, did a guild run 3 mages on the last boss? Did anyone try that?
I know there were some running more on earlier bosses. Let me check the end boss. I think we saw some experimentation with it. I don't think we saw a kill with it. No, we didn't.
Someone said, bruh, this was before they nerfed. We did this either Sunday or Monday before Mythic came out, after Heroic Week had been out. You guys have seen all of Heroic Week, and after the changes were announced. That is not true. Yeah, we tried Shadow Priest for like 2 hours or so, and then it ended up not being worth it. But Shadow Priest is probably, if you're going to bring a DPS class to just kill Acolytes and do P2, I think Shadow Priest is better than all of the range. That's the only reason we brought it. But it loses a little bit too much single target from the amount of movement in P1 and doesn't have enough to offset the fact that it's not a melee cleaving off the boss infinitely.
So the thing that's missing here is Ret.
So Ret's really good. It's just you needed one on the last boss for freedom. That's the only, I believe I could ask Echo about it, but I'm fairly certain for me, I can maybe even pull up our...
I mean, they were running one even with the prop alley.
Well, they were doing something different than what we were. So they were... Yes. So if we would have added a prop pally to our comp and had one more person go gnome, we would have gotten 0 roots ever. And that's what Echo was doing. What we did is we didn't bring that extra, like, because guys, Prot and Ret Paladin can cast freedom on someone else and get it themselves. It's like the most broken root break thing ever. I don't believe Echo AoE'd the 3rd roots in P1, did they? I don't think they did.
I'm not sure.
Anyways, I can show you a little bit of our sheets here. I don't mind doing that. I would need to find where they all are. Oh, here we are. Okay. So, I don't know if this is fully updated. We didn't update this for a while, but this was like our comp. It's like reactive toxins, shows the poppers, like some kick weak aura thing. It's not super organized. Our acolytes, acolyte essences, all the way at the end. But these were when we were figuring out our roots. We have, you can see like every single one. This is what I did during our last little Mythic Plus before we started this boss. It was like during our reclear a little bit of like making sure that we had roots for everything. So when you add another, because Yips is able to give his Tiger's Lust to someone else and then play Gnome. So he gnomes twice rather than having just like Tiger's Lust himself. You can move enough things around where if you were to change this Guardian Druid for a class that could not only freedom themselves but freedom someone else, you wouldn't have had to AoE on the 3rd set. Total roots on the last one ended up being 0. So that's why they did that. But Rep Paladin was good. I think Rep Paladin did really well on our kill. Let me see. Wait, have only 3 guilds still killed the boss?
No, Hot Pot Hero got it.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
That's cool. All right, so they were like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th overall. They were decent in the intermission, really good in P2 apparently, and then decent in last phase and in P1. So they were just like good damage for the whole fight. They have like a good profile. Let's do boss damage. I'm assuming, I mean, top 5 on the boss, right? Oh, this is all phases, sorry. Yep, top 5, 6 on the boss. So Ret just kind of was good, you know? Frost DK isn't usually a good boss damage class, but they are on this fight because everyone else just has to do mechanics and they don't. Oh, they did double Hunter instead of Evoker, and it achieved the same thing as Prop Paladin. Interesting.
Hunter does seem kind of low-key good.
Yeah, I mean, it's better than we thought. We thought we might have actually sat Hunter on this, like maybe the 1% off the boss's HP, it would have been better to have just like a better class. I don't think that ended up being true, but also on that kill, we could have definitely not had Hunter's Mark and killed it. So, who knows? I wonder what Exile's do. Exile definitely usually does way. I think on our pull he must have done something weird, or maybe he just does like 0 cleave or something. Okay, so that's that comp prediction. How different was yours from this? Where is yours? Is yours?
I have a YouTube video where I talk about making my guilds, which is like slightly different than like the race world first prediction. But
yeah, you're not talking about.
It's like somewhat similar, right? Like it's largely the same stuff I thought would be good for you guys. So like it has the 2 Augs.
Dude, you are spamming videos.
Dude, yeah, we're spamming.
Oh, here we go. Oh, I did watch this apparently.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. You came in one day and you said you'd watched it, but you forgot.
I did. So then you go over and talk about where you think all this will go. And then, like, I'm assuming this is the stuff you'd swap in.
Yeah, these are, like, the things we're most thinking about swapping in.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Exile, the pull before we killed it, Exile died, like, 3 times in the last phase. And then when we killed it, he said, dude, I was God's strongest soldier for coming back on that pull. I was so tilted. Okay. I mean, this is like pretty close. I mean, this comp would have been really good. I mean, you could have played Aug. Did any of the other guilds play Aug on the last boss?
People tried it. I don't know if anybody killed with it. I think a lot of people that started with it swapped out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, Dev owns.
Let me see.
I mean, this was
yeah,
really...
nobody has yet killed with an Aug.
This was really close to our Ansurek comp. It's like Brewmaster instead of Blood, but like Windwalker would have been great. So like that would have been fine. Like I feel like people don't realize this because I don't think that any guild play Windwalker on the last boss.
No.
So I'm pretty sure this is true. I think Windwalker is a top 5 class on Ansurek. And it is so strange that no guild ended up playing one. Probably because, like, you already had Brewmaster, but, like, I think Windwalker would have been immortal on that fight. They would have easily ignored all the mechanics, and they would have done infinite damage. We only didn't play one because AWC was out. This is pretty similar to the prediction from chat, right? Except they have 3 mages. And
we have 3 as well.
Do you have... Oh, you do have 3 mages. Yeah.
That is something that we are casting Transmute into Rep Paladin on one of them.
Okay. Then Dev instead of Aug, and then a second Prez instead of a Shaman. Or a Holy Paladin, one of the 2. If you have a Rep. Oh, and you had Ellie. Yeah, Ellie was really good. So...
Yeah, we're playing that still.
Yeah, if you... So Ellie has something really broken this tier, and I believe it will never exist past this tier because they're fixing it in the upcoming 20th anniversary thing. But, they get, like, all their cooldowns reduced infinitely by just spamming Lightning Bolt. So, like, I think Astral Shift cooldown is 40 seconds. Like, they're just spamming Astral Shift. Just, like, the whole fight. Same thing with like, Earth Ellie, even though it's Primal. Same thing with, I think, AG. Like, just all of their cooldowns are, like, massively reduced because of their build. And they do really good cleave. So, I think Ellie... also could have been one of the best classes for Ansurek because they have infinite movement. They don't actually, like, they have to cast all the time, but you have 4 time spirals and you have Spirit Walker's Grace, so you're chilling. They have great single target, and also Chain Lightning hits every Acolyte. So if you Chain Lightning from the boss, it will hit every single Acolyte. If you were to play, like... if you had to kill every Acolyte, the guild that brought 5 Ellie Shamans would have won. Like, if you couldn't melee cleave the Acolytes, you had to ranged kill them. Some combination of Shadow Priest, Destrolock, and Ellie Shaman would have been the best for that. So that would have been a fucking movie, but I think that's good. You guys are still playing one now, you said, right, Ellie?
Yep. We like it. It's good.
All right, cool. W.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's it. Do you have any other? I mean, we're recording a Potty C later, I think.
Yeah. How you feeling? You still under attack?
So I started getting sick like 2 days before we killed it. And it progressively got worse every single day until yesterday. And yesterday was the worst day. And today I feel significantly better from yesterday. But I still feel like absolute shit. This is the most sick I've ever been in my life, by the way. I like couldn't even keep my eyes open yesterday. It was so bad.
All right, well, if you're up to it, yeah, we record after my raid tonight.
Yep, I'll be doing that. I also kind of want to watch some people do some progression tonight. I'm going to try to find some guilds that are... I'm interested to see how post-nerf Ky'veza goes.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of guilds just roll up and like 3-shot it or something post-nerf if they did any prog pre-nerf.
Do you guys think you're going to like instantly kill it?
Yeah, I think we probably will. Like, I'm trying to convince people that we don't need Avantis.
Dude, what is this? Someone in my sub-Discord said, I'm trying to make this shirt to commemorate the boys' run. This is such a cursed shirt.
That's good. That's like the Dryny Hug shirt.
Oh, do you see this spam where it's like terminate
Yeah.
Spider Queen, admire impressive rear? So
Yeah.
there was one of those for Halandris. Do you remember
Yeah.
that one?
Yeah, I have the display for that, unironically. Powerful crab, dodge magic swirl, heated potato bomb, walk down path.
All right, so I tweeted that, exactly the thing that's on your display, and I got pulled aside by someone and was angrily told to delete it. And I didn't know why, but we were like partnered with one of the Chinese streaming services during that raid. I guess it was like Douyu or something. And something to do with this format or what the Chinese symbols say, I don't know. But apparently it comes from the Tiananmen Square thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And let me just tell you, our Chinese partners were not happy that I tweeted that at all. So yeah, that was fun. I just thought I was just posting some stupid crab meme, but it turns out I was like directly going against Chinese propaganda, which is not, you don't want to do that. They don't like that at all, actually.
Yeah. Somebody in my guild like copy pasted one of those into their BNet broadcast, and then a Chinese friend was like, "Did you mean to post about Tiananmen Square in your BNet broadcast?"
Yeah, it's great. Everything's good. This is a nice shirt, though. I might want this shit. Actually, I don't know. You can't wear this in public because I wore the Dryny one. It's just a white T-shirt with me ignoring Dryny on it, like a picture of me ignoring Dryny. And a couple times now, people have seen me in real life, and they ask me if that's me on my T-shirt, and it just looks like it's just so weird, you know, to like just have yourself on a T-shirt. All right. Well, good luck in your raid tonight, man. I'm gonna
Thank you.
go blow up or
Good
something.
luck.
All right.
Yeah.
See ya.
Gian.
All right. I'm gonna grab some water and I'll be right back, boys. I don't know what we're gonna do after this, but oh, let's just bark. Let's just get fucking hyped then. Oh, run. The Reptar is absolutely fucking hype right now. All right, 1 second. I'm not actually leaving. I need to go get some water, I think. Can someone explain the China drama? You want me to explain to you Tiananmen Square? I think that's worth a good Google. But it's a tough read. All right, be right back. Yo. Max, the guy is giga mad in my DMs. What happened? Some random chatters saying dumb shit. Okay. That sounds about right. Max, can you explain the timeline week aura? I heard you mention it the other day and I have no idea what it is. Yeah, I don't know what it is either. A timeline week aura. I have no idea what you're talking about. This is not good. We're gonna have to exit game. It's because it tried to open on my portrait mode monitor. He means the add-on that isn't public for the reminders. Oh, the thing where you can like go through the fight and you can like put a note on certain mechanics and stuff like that. Yeah, that's a tool that Bart developed for the guild. That's not public. It's really helpful though, so someone should definitely try to recreate it. That would be so helpful to so many people. Can you explain why holy over disc? Well, disc is just a worse Pres Evoker. But holy is a great healer to supplement Pres Evoker. That's pretty much the only reason. When's your all's re-clear this week? I have no idea. Let's see. There hasn't been an announcement for it. I have no idea. Probably Sunday? Eye level check on my monk? 603. I haven't played the game in 3 weeks. My character's a little fucking rat, bro. Character's a demon. Max is a minor amount of stat. I'm aware. Go do a heroic with viewers? I have all week. Max, important question. Are you goop? I'm goop. I'm always goop. Did you guys like that bit? I guess you did. Open your vault. There's probably nothing in it. I bet I didn't do one thing of content in the past couple weeks. Yep. Trading post check? Ooh, that's a good idea. I'll one of these days I'll definitely have some viewers carry me and get some gear. But today is not the day. Honestly, I really just want to play hockey again. It's something I did for 2 to 3 hours a day for the last 6 months. And I'm definitely too sick to play yet, and that's all I can think about. You and NMP lol both play WoW and hockey, I'm just saying. Yeah, and we have the same agent. But we don't talk to each other at all. In fact, he has me blocked on Twitter. Some dumbass shit from like 3 years ago. It was like right when Classic came out. And he said like something like, dude, Classic is so big. Or like, Classic is so fun, my numbers are huge and I crit and I feel it. And then I just responded sarcastically to it. You know, so I was kind of being a little shit, but I was like, oh damn, that crit's huge or something like that. It was not like super, it wasn't toxic or anything. But he did not like that. His exact response was, Max, you're nothing. You're never going to be anything relevant in WoW or Twitch. I'm just going to block you. And then he blocked me ever since then. Fucking crazy response, but he fucking hit me with it. Damn. Dude, I was going to stream a little longer, but I feel like I should rest my voice. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like if I keep trying to talk with my voice fucked, like, every day, it's just going to, like, never get better. And I have to record a fucking podcast later. So, I don't know. I should probably just, like, do some other shit. All right, I'm gonna do that.